agencies like the Institute of Educational Sciences. Why is that important? Because they do all the research and work to know, to put together the nation's report card so that parents and teachers and students and schools know how their kids are doing and know whether they need to do anything to help change it so our students do better. They gutted the Office of Civil Rights. Why is that important? Because the Office of Civil Rights is absolutely essential to that value I just talked about, which is to make sure that every child, no matter who they are, gets an education. So they actually ensure that that happens in the country, and they have gutted that office. One of the things that became really clear to me when Secretary McMahon came in front of us, we asked her about some of these firings last spring, and I said, have you done an analysis to see what the impacts of this are? She was a CEO. You would think they'd have done an analysis to know what the impacts were before they started, and she said no, and she had no plans to do so. So they're just doing this without any understanding of the impact of it. Getting rid of people is one thing. They're also cutting off money that has been critical for our schools, both K-12 and higher ed, that has just been incredible. They cut $1 billion from schools' ability to hire counselors and to make sure that we get mental health care for our kids' needs. Just an issue that's so important to many kids and families. That was just cut off. They cut off billions that schools had been counting on to make their budgets work. Many years ago, I was on a school board. We counted on that federal funding. We saw in the spring what we were going to get, and that's how we put together our budgets for the fall. They're just cutting that off, and all of a sudden school districts are finding themselves without the federal funds they need to support the budgets that they have put in place for this year. They canceled $100 million in education research, and they actually basically stopped funding any new research grants. Why is that important? Because we need the best research to see what works when we teach our kids. How do we make sure we're doing the best thing possible for all kids? That's gone. They slashed funding to help train teachers, to help students in our colleges get housing and food, and magnet schools that serve many of our kids. I know that's important here in Seattle. That funding has just been slashed. And this summer, they held up $7 billion in funding for literacy and math programs till we screamed really loud, and then they put that back in effect. But that creates a chaos when all of a sudden you think you're not going to get the money, and then you do. Planning is absolutely a nightmare, but it does show that we need to speak up and speak out. And then just this week, they took a huge step that really, really is frightening, and that's basically that they're taking key parts of the Department of Education and sending it elsewhere. That's going to impact everything from who is going to distribute dollars to our states, who's going to make sure that we're providing grants to our community colleges, who's overseeing the Indian Native American schools. I mean, the list is long, and they're just saying, oh, we're going to send it over to the Department of Education or put it in the Native American fund over here someplace. There's no coordination. So what happens is those programs get lost in other agencies, and people don't know where to go. So if you are a school board administrator or you are a community college president and you want to find out where that grant is that you were expecting, you don't even know where to call. So it's going to increase bureaucracy, and I actually think that's their goal. That they'll say the money's not being used because you can't find it, and then they'll try and cut it off. So the stakes are really high here. That's why I'm here today. I want to hear from all of you what the impacts you are seeing is, and to really encourage people to speak up and speak out and help us stop this horrific attempt to take away our country's focus on education. So thank you all for being here. And Dr. Salmas, I'm going to start with you.
Yes. Thank you, Senator Murray, for bringing us together to address what is truly at stake for students and family. At North Seattle College, we take pride as an open access institution where we serve students who often have to balance work, family, and school. These are veterans returning to civilian lives. These are parents pursuing better jobs, first-generation college students, and individuals who face many barriers, including impacts of poverty in everyday lives. So at North Seattle College, we know our students rely heavily on basic needs support and federal programs, whether that's Pell Grant, Child Care Assistance, SNAP, Medicaid, and other basic needs support to stay in school and complete their education. These are their lifeline. And so when these programs face disruption from unexpected federal policy changes, implementation delays, and even grant terminations, the impact is immediate and deeply personal. So these are students who may have to choose to drop courses because they can no longer afford their tuition, or our student parents who all of a sudden lose their child care support and have to choose between work and school. The dream of economic mobility will be put on pause, and sometimes permanently. So let me share some statistics here at North Seattle College. And by the way, we do want to thank Governor Ferguson. This week is actually Post-Secondary Basic Needs Awareness Week, which is really a recognition of what our students need in order for them to succeed. So at North Seattle College, 38% of our students receive grants or scholarship, including need-based aid, and 14% of them receive Pell Grants, averaging about $3,800 annually. Hundreds of student parents depend on our on-campus childcare and, of course, other childcare capacity every quarter to remain enrolled. And half of our students are first generation, and many are working adults striving for family wage careers. So these numbers represents real lives and real future. For example, some of our students are single parents who dream about pursuing and building a better future for their families. So those programs like Child Care Assistance and Pell help them remain in school while pursuing their degree. Imagine as those programs go away, their stories will be vastly different. So all these recent disruptions really has compounded these challenges for our students. Let me give you a few examples. The pause on the BFED stands for Basic Food Employment Training Program, which is an extension of the SNAP program. Impacts students and staffing at the time SNAP benefits were put on hold, and it created a perfect storm for those already struggling. So food insecurity skyrocketed, forcing us to really depend and have a deeper reliance on community partners like at North Seattle, the U District Food Bank, and an internal push, and thank God for our student government, who actually now provides 300 free meals a week funded by the student activities fees. And of course, we expanded our food pantry operations. Unstable federal grant funding has made both short and long-term planning extremely challenging, particularly to programs that is committed to serve our historically underrepresented students. So regardless of which agency administers these programs, college needs consistent communication with staff who understands these programs. That partnership is essential so we can continue to serve our students and provide for pathways for family wage jobs. It is critical whichever agency administers key federal higher education programs has the expertise, both in the programs and the colleges they impact. Any changes to the administrative entity must reflect this need. We hope and assume that all employees of the Department of Education who have worked on these programs will remain involved, especially for continuity. And the latest round of layoffs, if carried out, really is already harming and could continue to harm responsiveness to institutions, regardless of where these employees are located. Now, basic oversight responsibilities to the academic aspects of higher education, whether that's accreditation, Title IX, civil rights, must remain with the agency that has the necessary expertise to support them. Colleges have faced already a series of unexpected changes in the federal programs and administration this year, and stability is urgently needed. So we urge all parties to ensure campuses receive clear and consistent information about federal policies, both in terms of program administration and funding. Now, we remain deeply concerned about the reprogramming of the fiscal year 2025 funds provided by Congress for minority-serving institutions. These programs, they're categorized as higher education programs, would have been moved to the Department of Labor under this week's action. We hope steps will be taken to restore funding for these critical institutional aid programs that serve so many of our low-income students. So any proposal that disrupts the core and essential services of the Department of Education is really sending a clear message to our students that their future does not matter, and that is unacceptable. Our students deserve a federal partner that invests in their future, not one that abandons them. We in Seattle colleges believe that education is foundation to strong economy, to thriving communities, and engaged citizenry. It is not only a private good where individuals get their credentials and with those credentials gain economic prosperity. It is a public good. So undermining this foundation hurts all of us, businesses, family, and the leaders of tomorrow. So today I join you, Senator Murray, and all of you in urging our leaders to protect these programs and ensure that every student, regardless of their background, have access to the resources for them to succeed. Because we know when we invest in education, we invest in hope, we invest in opportunity, and in the strength of our nation. Thank you.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Gina Topp. I serve as the president of the Seattle School Board, and I'm glad to be here. I also had the opportunity many years ago to intern for Senator Murray, and that experience has really shaped how I think about public service, and I just want to say thank you for being a champion for students and families in public education. It's a huge commitment, and I admire your work. I also want to acknowledge we were in a very similar conversation a few months ago in March, having this same conversation, but we haven't walked away from it. As a school district, as a Seattle school system, we've kept pushing to make sure our students get the resources and the services they need to get a high-quality education. And I'm all about reform or transforming systems for the better. Whether that's more efficient, more responsive. But what we're seeing today is not reform. It's not about efficiency. It's an effort to break public education so it cannot function. And that's a direct attack on our Seattle students. In Seattle, we see the consequences every day. Federal support is not distant. It's not abstract. It touches all facets of our system, whether federal funding determines whether we staff classrooms, whether after-school programs continue, whether students learning English receive the support they need, and whether students with disabilities get the services they're entitled to under federal law. Federal grants are a smaller percentage of our total budget, but they are woven into what makes learning possible. And when the administration tries to dismantle, tear apart the Department of Education, either by cutting staff or spinning off core functions to agencies with no or little experience in education, or undermining the civil rights, it pulls really a rug under from the students who already are facing those steepest barriers. And something I really want to make clear here is, as we go through all of this, districts like Seattle, we need clear and concrete communication about how those changes then will be rolled out, because these shifts have real life impacts on the students we serve. And in order to plan and continue to meet the needs of our students, we need clarity on how these changes will affect funding, staffing, and the functions of the Department of Education. Here's the part I want us to kind of take seriously. Seattle families don't want chaos. You mentioned chaos, Senator Murray. We don't want that. We want our schools to work. We want teachers in front of students. We want reading support, math support, safe buildings. We want stability and not this political theater for our children. Families are not asking for the Department of Education to be hollowed out. They're asking for strong academics, qualified educators, safe and stable schools every day. That is where our focus should be. So my message is simple. Parents and families don't want this political chaos. They want schools that work. And to get there, we need a federal partner that wants to strengthen public education instead of tearing it apart. because without a functioning Department of Education, our Title I funding is at risk, special education support is at risk, civil protections are at risk, technical assistance and oversight disappear, and the highest need students are the ones who are going to lose the most. So we deserve better. Our Seattle families deserve better than that. Our students deserve a federal government that shows up, is ready to do the work, and is not an adversary. So keep doing this work every day, because our public schools, I think, remain one of the greatest tools of opportunity in this country. And with that, I'm going to pass it over to Melinda Dyer, retired Washington McKinney-Vento State Coordinator.
Hi, everyone. Thank you, Senator Murray, for including me in this very important conversation. One of the points that I really want to make is that because of the program that I worked in for 30 years is directly tied to U.S. Department of Education, I can speak to the efficiency, the kindness, the dedication, the effectiveness of the staff that work at Department of Education, and what an insult it is to those hardworking individuals that this effort to dismantle Department of Ed has been happening. To my knowledge, Department of Labor doesn't have a lot of connection to the education of homeless children and youth, and that is the program that I worked in for many, many years. And so just to give you a little bit of background, the Education of Homeless Children and Youth program, or the McKinney-Vento program, is the only federal program that is dedicated to providing access to school for students who are experiencing homelessness. In our country, we have roughly 1.4 million students that are enrolled in schools that are living in unstable housing. And that's a very broad definition, and sometimes we think about kids that might be living in poverty, or they may be in a campground, or those kinds of situations. Remember that we have natural disasters in our country. We have families that lose their housing at any given moment. One medical event, one forest fire can put a family into a situation where they need those supports that are offered through the McKinney-Vento program. I can tell you that the Department of Ed, the folks that I've worked with there for many, many years, have been incredibly responsive, and they work closely with the state coordinators that support this program. We can call them, we can email them, sometimes we text them. They give us quick, accurate information so that state coordinators, and then in turn, local school districts, can support the needs of students that are in very vulnerable situations, to make sure they're identified, that they're immediately enrolled, that they are provided the services that they're entitled to, including transportation, free meals, all Title I services. So that's just a little bit of background. There are supports in place to assist these students. And this effort to dismantle Department of Ed really puts these kids in a vulnerable situation where they may be forgotten. It's easy to forget about kids that may not have a voice, that may not be very visible. And so I'm happy to be here today to speak for them. I can tell you that, like I said, my communication and work with Department of Ed has consistently been supported. They've been great. I don't know what will happen to those folks. It hurts my heart to think of people I've worked with for 30 years losing their jobs. So the work at the state with this program includes grant funding, which is incredibly important. In our state, we receive roughly $2 million to support the needs of students in homeless situations, and the need far outstrips the resource. This year, when we did a competition for McKinney-Vento grant funding, we had 84 school districts that applied. That's more than twice the number of districts that typically apply for this funding. Districts need the money, they want to support the kids, they want to be able to pay their local school district liaisons. These kinds of services and supports are in jeopardy. Without direct support from Department of Ed, our vulnerable children and families will be harmed, because the oversight of programs will be shifted to agencies that are unfamiliar with federal protections of the McKinney-Vento Act. Students that fail to graduate are more likely to become homeless as adults. Educational stability allows the next generation to break the cycle of homelessness, and we know that this program works. We've seen increased graduation rates, we've seen improved outcomes for students that receive the services under the McKinney-Vento Act. And I'd also like to say that it's very nuanced. This is not the kind of program that you can plug into a different agency that is not familiar with the work and have a quick answer for every topic and situation that may come up. Every student has a name, a situation, and they're all different. And we need expertise from folks that currently are at Department of Ed to address those questions, to provide good guidance, technical assistance, and support the needs of the state coordinators that do this work every day. And then the state coordinators in turn work with every single school district in the state to make sure that the law is implemented with fidelity. In our state, we have, I think I mentioned, over 45,000 children and youth in our state in Washington that have been identified as being homeless. That's a lot of kids. So clearly the need is there. And this does not account for very young children who are not enrolled in school yet. Department of Ed also aligns their work with other programs that may now be in an agency or an entity that's not even working closely with them. Special ed, foster care, 21st century learning centers, all the different programs, they work closely together at Department of Ed. And so this breaking up and dismantling is very troubling. So I think I've probably covered what I needed to, but I just really, I've worked in this program for a long time, and I've worked directly with kids. I've had them call my office. When they can't find anybody else, they contact the state of Washington, which you have to go through some steps before you actually call that office. And so there's a lot of need, there's a lot of good work that has been done that is in jeopardy. And so with that, I just want to thank you for the opportunity to highlight some of the needs and the good work that Department of Ed has been doing, and we hope that that doesn't go away.
All right, so that is just one of the many people connected with our state's education department reacting to the threats to close down the federal education department or Department of Education. We will get you back in with more details coming in. We are expected to have some questions in this roundtable and reaction from Senator Patty Murray. And then a little bit later in our show, we'll be checking in with the Seattle Seahawks as they get ready to head out to Tennessee. Right now, though, we're going to take a short commercial break. We'll jump back into ongoing coverage of this education roundtable when we return. All right, welcome back into the Fox Local Live Desk. Got a look out at the floating bridge. It is looking nice and gray out there once again. The clouds have returned. If you guys were with us just 3 minutes ago, before we jumped into that commercial break, we were listening in live to Senator Murray's roundtable on the attempts to close the Department of Education. If you haven't been following this story, these aren't just concerns brought out of nowhere. The Secretary of the Department of Education has explained her goal here. She says the Trump administration, quote, is taking bold action to break up the federal education bureaucracy and return education to the states. Cutting through layers of red tape in Washington is one essential piece of our final mission. This is something that has been talked about over on Capitol Hill just this week. That quote coming from a press conference held 1 day ago. Some more background on this. McMahon says there's evidence that the Department of Education is failing and is no longer needed. Now, you would need an act of Congress to technically get rid of the Department of Education. However, what you could do is basically offload a lot of the responsibilities to other departments. That appears to be the plan of the Secretary of Education at this point in time. And as you have been hearing, Senator Murray and the folks that she has gathered today for this roundtable are vehemently against that idea. She is at the table right now where Rachel Gittleman is talking. She's the president of a union that is representing voices from the U.S. Department of Education and the employees that will be affected by these moves. We'll jump in and listen in to her statements right now.
Because the department has canceled funding, and a first-generation college student that will no longer have access to grants, training programs, and job opportunities. The Trump administration has shown it will stop at nothing, including ignoring court orders and violating federal law to dismantle the department and undermine the careers of thousands of dedicated public servants who work every day to support students and families. I believe deeply in the idea that government can, should, and does serve the people of this nation. Every person I helped took out student loans to better themselves or their children, to build a future and to open new doors. But beyond that, every member of our union is a person who has been impacted and served by the programs and services that they now administer. We will continue to fight like hell to serve our students and protect what our agency stands for. Thank you.
Thank you for having me today to tell you about my family. My name is Ann Simonson. My husband, Peter, and I have 3 wonderful daughters. Our youngest is Erica, age 20. Erica was born with a genetic condition. It's called tuberous sclerosis. It causes growths in her organs, and the tubers that are causing the most trouble at the moment are the ones in her brain, because those cause seizures. She has seizures maybe 4 to 6 times a month. It causes developmental delay and autism. She also has them in her kidneys, which will be more down the road for us. All 3 of my daughters have been students, have gone from kindergarten through 12 in the Seattle Public Schools. Erica graduated from Franklin High School a 1.5 years ago. During those years, we were well aware, the years with Erica in school, I should say, we were well aware of the IDEA, the Individuals with Disabilities Education Act, passed in 1975, which guarantees Erica an education, a free and appropriate education. We knew that it was the Department of Ed that supported and enforced the IDEA. When Erica was in 2nd grade, we had enough trouble that we even consulted a lawyer. We knew we could do this because the IDEA was the law. The law was on our side, and we knew the Department of Ed had our backs. We did manage to resolve our issues, just with a little outside help, not from the lawyer though. Now Erica is in the Bridges program of the Seattle Public Schools. She's still a part of the system. And I cannot say enough good about the Bridges program. It bridges the time between graduation and the real world. It prepares these students for life and for work. We are fortunate, too, because Erica has a fantastic teacher. The program has made such a huge difference in Erica's life. She has been a part of this program for only a little bit over a year, and we've seen her make huge strides in her independence. She has just blossomed. Her class is often out in the community, riding public transportation, going to the library, checking out books, learning how to shop for groceries, going back to school and cooking, learning how to order lunch, and volunteering, preparation for work. Erica has had 2 volunteer jobs. She is currently really enjoying volunteering in a local restaurant once a week. And there's always pictures with smiles on her face sent home. And she has had a volunteer job since last fall at a local cookie company. But in the spring, the owner said, I would like to pay the girls. She goes with another student. I would like to pay them for their work. So she has a job. It's 1 hour a week, and she goes to the local cookie company. And she gets crucial support in that work from her teacher or from an instructional assistant, an IA. But now here we are. We're worried that the loss of federal funding could just pull this program out from under Erica's feet. So this brings me to DVR, the Division of Vocational Rehabilitation. Threats to the Department of Ed have affected our family in 2 ways. One is, of course, Erica and her schooling. The other is my husband and his job. He has worked for DVR for a number of years, the last 6 of those as a supervisor. And this agency receives 80% of its funding from the RSA, the Rehabilitation Services Administration, which falls under the Department of Ed. The RSA, maybe it's already been moved.
It hasn't. Not yet.
But there is a fear that there are cuts already, and a fear that it will affect the agency and their ability to do their work. My husband's decision to retire has removed our fear for his job, but our concern for his staff continues, and our concern for Erica. Where will Erica turn for help when she leaves the Bridges program? To DVR. The School to Work program, managed and funded by DVR, King County Disabilities, and DDA, helps students like Erica. It's mostly federal funding for this program. DVR also helps an enormous portion of our society find jobs, people with disabilities, of course, like Erica, but also people who've had accidents that have caused disabilities, like a traumatic brain injury or something else, people struggling with mental health issues. All of these people turn to DVR, who helps them find work appropriate for them at this time in their lives. The impact of cuts is starting to show. Washington State DVR is already facing cuts and already making some difficult decisions. It would be a huge loss if this agency couldn't function from a lack of funds, and it would have a huge impact on our family. The threat to the Department of Ed is a threat to people. What has happened to us as a nation if we can rip programs for people like Erica out from under her? What has happened to us as a people? Where is our humanity? Where is our care for those less fortunate than us? Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you to all of you for your incredible statements and helping us all understand what is at stake here. I really want to thank each and every one of you. I want to turn it over to answering questions, but I just want to say this. I've been involved in education for a long time as a school board member, state legislator, U.S. senator, and always been willing to listen and work with people on reform to make sure that we're doing the right thing for our kids. But there's a difference between reform and sabotage. And right now we are seeing sabotage. And I just say, not on my watch. So we're going to have to stand up and speak out and be loud and fight back, and we need a lot of people with us. So with that, turn it over to any of you for questions.
For questions, we'll go first to Claire with the Times.
Hi, good afternoon. I wanted to ask, is this a 6th interagency agreement that the administration announced this week? Is that a done deal? And Senator Murray, is there anything you can do in your position to stop that? programs happening, or?
Like everything in this administration, they make a big announcement. They don't work with all of us. There's no transparency. They just behind the scenes are doing it. So that's one of the reasons that I'm here today and speaking out both here and in Washington, D.C., to have everybody speak up and say, we don't want this. The one thing we have learned this year is when the public speaks up and is loud about it, they do back off. And that's my goal.
Someone on track 13, do you have any questions?
Sure.
Yeah.
Hi, I'm Sam Ross. I'm with the Cascadia Advocate. We're glad to have you here today. Obviously, we cover other areas across the country, but could you tell us a little bit how your fellow senators and representatives are reacting to this news? How are they communicating with you?
I'll tell you this, there's so much going on. And there's so many crises. It feels like every hour of every day, the president and his administration do something different. So what I'm trying to do is really raise the alarm on this, because we can't let it just get stuck in the glob of all the actions this administration is taking.
SNAP was brought up on Como TV. SNAP was brought up in this conversation. What is the future of SNAP and those benefits? What do you think you'll be able to do over the next couple of years to maintain that and keep that program going?
Look, I have been stunned that this administration has taken on so viciously going after families who rely on SNAP. We saw it throughout the summer when they wrote their big, beautiful bill and made huge cuts to SNAP, put in requirements that are going to make it really difficult for states to be able to manage their programs and for people to access their basic food. And then during the Republican shutdown, what we saw was the president used SNAP to deny food to people. And by the way, that was his choice. The funding was there. He chose not to put it out. And now people are much more aware that it's their neighbors, their friends, their relatives. They see the impact in their communities.
All right, so that is Senator Patty Murray hosting a roundtable right now. Do want to switch gears, though, because we are seeing the Seattle City Council is getting ready to vote on their new budget. One other thing that is happening right now live as we speak, I want to jump in for some coverage coming in from the Seattle City Channel. This is Council President Sarah Nelson putting in some final words, and then the vote is going to be taking place. We'll jump right in.
The council members and myself in the past, and I thank the chair for putting many of those in the chair's package and in the consent package. So thank you very much for your support of those. And fundamentally, I wanted to call out a couple of them. Your support of my amendments that sought to preserve technical support for Black and brown business owners was really gratifying to me. The support of the provisoing the money that exists already in the Liberty Project, that is a partnership but kind of led by Tabor 100, really means a lot to me, but more fundamentally to the small businesses that will continue to receive that support. And then also, this was funding, there was really important funding to provide for technical support so that small businesses can modify or so that they can adapt to changing federal policies around contracting for public projects. That's going to be really important going forward, because that's the bread and butter of a lot of our small businesses, and especially in the neighborhoods that are undergoing pretty rapid gentrification as well. So thank you very much for those. And again, as always, thank you so much for working with me over the past 2 years, not just during this budget period, but to, in a very big way, center investments in treatment and recovery. That I have really appreciated that, and thank you, Councilmember Juarez, for highlighting that. It does save lives and really does highlight a pressing need in our city. In the chairs, or in the consent package, was the budget action HSD 060A1, and I just want to highlight what you all helped me do, or what you all did. This particular budget item specifies how $2.85 million in new public safety tax revenue for treatment and recovery services will be appropriated. So they are listed here, $250,000 or more for sober housing stipends, $500,000 or more to nonprofits that provide both housing and comprehensive addiction treatment services and other behavioral health supports. And that is basically, so you get both. You get housing and treatment services in the same place or with the same organization. And then finally, $500,000 or more to maintain and expand my treatment pilot program that enables case managers to refer people who want to take the step toward recovery directly into a treatment facility. And that has been, as I've said before, that has really made a difference in people's lives. And this will continue thanks to you. I do want to note too, our outreach workers, our care team members, our first responders, and other contracted cities, social service providers, that when you encounter people that want to take advantage of this resource, please use it. It is there for you. $500,000 is there for when you encounter someone, and they're in Little Saigon right now. I was down there the other day talking to people. When you encounter people, please remember this resource and use it if you can. It's not for everybody, but however, keep it in mind as you're out and about. And then finally, the rest of that CBA identifies that the remaining funds will be distributed for enhancement of access to recovery-based services within permanent supportive housing, like contingency management, medication for opioid use disorder, etc. And it will also, it's intended to perhaps one day supplement city funds to King County for for designated crisis responders to help people get into who are in danger of hurting themselves or others. And then finally, supporting programs to expand the provision of long-lasting buprenorphine injections, otherwise known as Sublocade. So, when I took office, the city didn't even fund rehab, and so we've come a long way, and I just wanted to thank you.
It's really nice.
That's it. And when I opened up by saying, stating, sustainability issues, I do want to say that it's a lot easier to say than do, that we have to look at our programs and eliminate those that aren't working and reinvest those dollars someplace else to balance our budget every year. Indeed, that is the ideal. However, it is very difficult because we all come with our priorities. And so I just want to recognize and offer some grace to everybody that it is very difficult to do that. And when presented with additional funding sources of 2 new taxes that were sent down by the mayor and also with the help of Councilmember Rink, we put it to work for our priorities. Anyway, I read something just speaking to the new incoming administration, also recognizing good faith on her part. Mayor-elect Katie Wilson said in one interview, I believe, something about the recognition that we do have to be careful with public resources, and that she will undergo an exercise of looking at whether or not our investments are producing the results that we want. And so I applaud that intention, and I wish the new administration well. And I'll save my thank yous until the last item. That's all I've got to say. Anybody else before Chair Strauss? Go ahead, please.
Thank you, Council President. Urging an aye vote on this. We'll come to the clerk file, which puts into the record all of the changes that we have made during this budget process. I want to make sure that we didn't, and it's hard to tell who has been thanked over the last 2 days. A wise person once told me it's not appropriate to share thanks for people simply doing what their job is. The reason that I'm giving thanks to everyone is because everyone went above and beyond this year. And we had a very smooth process, and it was because we came together in a collaborative manner. And so again, just want to highlight City Clerk Shireen Dedman, Philip Wood-Smith, and of course, Marissa and Chris, who open and close this room every single day. Thank you to you all for making this a successful process.
Thank you for those comments. And will the clerk please call the roll on the passage of the bill?
Councilmember Hollingsworth?
Yes.
Councilmember Juarez?
Aye.
Councilmember Kettle?
Aye.
Councilmember Rink.
Yes.
Councilmember Rivera.
Aye.
Councilmember Saka.
Aye.
Councilmember Solomon.
Aye.
Councilmember Strauss.
Aye.
Council President Nelson.
Aye.
9 in favor, none opposed.
The bill passes and the chair will sign it. Will the clerk please fix my signature to the legislation on my behalf? I will.
All right, there you have it. The bill just passed 9 votes to 1. We'll update that. The breaking news, the Seattle City Council has passed their budget. Yeah, put up the graphics for you. Couldn't type it all without saying it out loud. Just to kind of highlight, I know for those of you that were watching us at the top of the hour, we kind of ran through some of the highlights that were put out by the Budget Committee who had put this out. Previously passed it through committee. They said the budget will include a record high $349.5 million for affordable housing investments, another $11.8 million in new shelters for emergency housing. That is going to be a big boon for the city as a whole. They also talked about when it came to drug treatment, they're going to put more money into that as well. That's going to include $1.25 million to expand a mobile team to connect people with medications that they need on the street. We're also talking about changes with the public safety. You heard the conversation a little bit there with Sarah Nelson, the president of the council, talking about that. They're going to fully fund the Seattle Police Department with a record-breaking 170 plus new officers expected this year. The care team will also be expanded. These are basically the folks that go out there when it's not necessary that a police officer be on the ground, but think somebody that's in a mental health care crisis or is overdosing. If they don't need police, the care team can go out there, and then that also allows more police to be on the street for other types of issues. And then they talked a little bit about the rainy day fund. They're going to add $4.7 million. They refer to that as right sizing. And then one thing that I don't have listed here on your full screen that's currently on the screen, they're going to include $14 million to protect the city from what they refer to as federal cuts. So think about all the changes we've seen with emergency shelters, house funding, also things like federal emergency for SNAP lapsing previously. All those types of things would be included in this. We did also see the Mayor-elect Katie Wilson post just a short time ago. We, of course, will be trying to see if there's any new details coming out from her office. Her team not a part of this budget, as that's under the direction of outgoing Mayor Bruce Harrell, but she writes, "We need trusting and effective partnerships to tackle Seattle's most pressing challenges, from affordability to safety to transit. We've got a lot of work to do, and I'm glad to have a partner like Girmay in this work." Girmay Zahilai, obviously the King County executive, also recently elected. So plenty of news to get to as we continue throughout the day here on the Fox Local Live Desk. We've been bringing you live coverage for quite a while, so we're going to take a much needed commercial break, and on the other side we'll also jump in and hear from the Seattle Seahawks. That and more still to come here. Welcome back into the Fox Local Live Desk, everybody. Got a gray look outside. It is cloudy. It is 42 degrees, and we are tracking headlines here for you inside the Fox 13 Seattle newsroom. If you were just with us, you saw Seattle City Council just passed their new budget. We broke down some of those highlights for you. Won't go over that, but we will have continuing coverage on fox13seattle.com. Look for that later in the day, as well as updates in Seattle News Tonight, where we'll break that down for you. In the meantime, do want to let you guys know we had a couple of things happening behind the scenes. We had that lockdown that took place at Everett Community College. We've since learned that lockdown very short-lived. Somebody with a gun nearby, arrests or apprehensions have been made by Everett Police Department. Things are back to normal out there. And then we had that live roundtable discussion with Senator Patty Murray. We jumped out of that so we could get some more details on what was going on with Seattle City Council. While all of that was happening, we've also been trying to track behind the scenes what's going on with the Seattle Seahawks. Of course, they are getting ready to head out to Nashville, where they'll be taking on the Tennessee Titans, who are currently sitting at 1-9, but you don't want to let your guard down. I've been hearing that all week from a number of these people. Meanwhile, it is My Cleats, My Cause week in the NFL, so you see the captains on your screen right there for this upcoming game. I'll take that full for you so you can get a closer look at this. You got Jackson Smith and Jigba, you got Derek Hall, and you got Chris Stoll. So there are your Week 12 captains for that game with Tennessee. I've got here listed on your screen that they are also part of that My Cleats, My Cause. We're going to be checking in with head coach Mike McDonald, who maybe not cleats, they're sneakers, but nonetheless, rocking some new kicks this week for the RYRI Foundation. This is to help try to find a goal or a treatment that could potentially cure the rare disease. They are supporting research, medical professional education, and also outreach to kids, and it is something that is close to his heart. Let's jump in with head coach Mike McDonald, who just wrapped up a press conference. We'll take you back just an hour in time and listen in together.
Yeah, so it's a organization that supports rare diseases, particularly muscular dystrophy. My awesome nephew Lucas has a form of muscular dystrophy, and he's doing great. But it's a great support system. Do a lot of great research, a lot of great awareness, making a lot of progress too, which is really exciting. So and there's a lot of people, especially young people, that have that disease, and it's a great community for them, and also great support. And they're hopefully find some great solutions as we go and help them out. So. Just proud to wear the shoes, and I love the fact that the NFL does this, gives our players and our staff an opportunity to support causes that we love and want to bring awareness to. So, yeah, be good, be exciting.
How old is Lucas?
He's 9 years old now, yeah. My sister might kill me if I get that wrong. It might be 10, I don't know.
Is this the do you have a relative that lives in Seattle? In the area?
So yeah, I think actually Lucas was born here, and they used to live in Ballard and then in Kirkland, and that's when I had come and visited, like when I was younger. They've since moved to Plano, so they're in Texas right now.
You mentioned players getting to support different causes, and Ernest is doing cancer one really to his dad.
Yeah.
What Ernest is doing this year now, he's pushing out. What do you think?
I can't relate, you know. You try to be there to support them. We've had a few guys lose loved ones, particularly fathers, this year, and it's tough. I mean, your heart goes out to these guys. I'm happy that they have a support system here, and they feel like this is a place where they like to be, you know, and they can be around people that have their backs and that can love them up and give them the support they need. But Ernest has done a tremendous job. He's a passionate guy. He really loves his teammates. He cares about how we play on defense. Takes a lot of pride in his work, and I know he wants to make his dad proud. You know, and I think he's definitely done that.
With the injuries, Kenneth Walker got added to it. What can you tell us about that?
Yeah, we're just taking care of him today. So I'd say it's precautionary, but you never know. But I'd say it's precautionary. We're just he should be fine.
Is this a new issue?
It's just maintenance on stuff that, you know, he's a little sore. but he should be good.
Should be good for the game.
Yeah.
The last 7 games of his contract, how urgent is it for you, team, him, to get the most out of these games?
We're trying to beat the Titans. So that's what we're thinking about doing. We love having, Ken's going to be an integral part of that. So we're trying to get the squad to Sunday.
Is Robbie Oots going to be able to play?
So Robbie had a personal matter earlier in the week, so he just missed some reps. His elbow's fine. We're working through some roster stuff on how it's all going to shake out, but that's what's going on with Robbie. So, but he's good. He's good. Everybody's, but he's back and he's with us, and we're getting him ready to as much as we can to go play.
And what's going on with
His knee's just still working from a couple weeks ago, just working through it. He hasn't injured anything or anything. He's just working through his knee. Same knee.
Do you have a feeling on the likelihood of whether or not he plays?
Questionable.
With Torrey, is that any more of a long-term? I mean, it's been 3 weeks there, I guess.
Yeah, you can look at what the situation is, but again, it's one of those things where we just got to handle it day by day, week by week, and treat the heck out of him. And I know he's working his tail off. He's doing everything he possibly can to get back. It's just one of those things where he just, it's just got to calm down.
Beating the Titans, you talked about this week, I can recalculate, but turnovers and then finishing in the red zone, that was an emphasis for you this week. What do you think came out of it?
Well, I mean, again, process over results. We'll see what happens in the game. I think our intent this week has been great. The guys have practiced hard. We've been sharp. Let's go let it rip. We've earned the right to go let it rip now in the game. We got one more walkthrough tomorrow, and then let's go do it on Sunday.
How was Gray's week for you, being able to get back out?
Yeah, this guy's a tough cookie, man. It's awesome to have him back out there, and he's it's a process. He's going to work all the way up to game time, and but he's confident, and it's great to have him out there.
Okay. How do you see Sam kind of bounce back this week?
Yeah, I mean, we're not bouncing back. We're just working. He's out there. He's doing a great job like he always does. It's the same Sam. Sam had a great week.
In terms of, you said, the all-in to game time, does that mean like you got to watch him do something?
No, we're just treating him, getting his body ready to go. But there won't be like a pre-workout or anything.
What have you seen out of Christian as he kind of gets back up to speed with you, the little bit he played last week, and if he needs to go for you this weekend?
He's practicing hard, doing some good things. He's going to be ready to go if we need him. And we got several young guys that are practicing and working hard and competing for opportunities, and Christian's right there with those guys.
He's able to surprise if he's on the field. You seem to walk.
I mean, given what happened on the game, I am, yeah. But you start to hear the results and see the tests, and you see all the things and who he is. I think we're learning on the type of guy he is. So.
When Kubiak called him, what did you say yesterday? Gangster.
A gangster, okay.
Did you know that? Little gangster, 6'6", 350.
Yeah.
Did you know that part of him at North Dakota State? Was that part of the scout? Did you learn that?
No, I mean, well, both. Both. Our guys are on it. They do a great job. One of the reasons we loved him so much was the toughness. The person, like there's some swag to him. Like there's a confidence. So those guys had him dialed that way. But like any person that we come in, you're always going to learn, get to know their personality and things like that. How they work through injuries. You get that information, but when you see it and it backs it up, that's pretty cool. Yeah, we might have some elevations, or guys might not be up, things like that. We're going to work all the way. We'll work through that up to tomorrow.
And Mike, you think about DBs and now how you can match them up, the depth that you have now. How does Carl Scott and Jeff Howard? I mean, they're two different people, but what's that relationship they have enabled them to get that back end steady as it is?
Yeah, what I love about our staff is, people take a lot of pride in their work, and I think we take a collective pride in our work. So, if you're in our defensive staff, or you want to be on our defensive staff, like the ego of, hey, this is my guy, or like this is my land, don't farm my land, or like that's all just so stupid. Like, why would it's just a waste of time. It's drag. Our guys don't do that. Our guys are team players. They're great coaches. We're always just trying to find the right thing to do that's best for the players at all times. That's how we make decisions. They got to put up with my crap all the time, and they do a great job of that. And we just sharpen each other, man. And to your point, they do a great job in the back end. I mean, we got guys playing multiple positions that need extra meeting time. Things have moved. I feel like we have a different lineup every week, it seems like. And keeping those guys ready to go. And everybody's getting coached, which is great.
Did you have a chance to meet Kenny easily for anything?
No, unfortunately I haven't. And, actually speaking of Carl, he played a highlight video for our DBs this week, which I thought was really cool. Man, what a tremendous player. So our prayers go to him and his family. But what an awesome player. Really, really awesome.
What's that crap that your assistants have to put up with?
You can ask them. Doesn't happen too often, but it's in there.
AD talked a little bit yesterday about crossover tape. What do you learn about your defense, maybe how it evolves when you see how teams are attacking the other teams that play like you? You mentioned Baltimore. Does your defense evolve maybe based on what you're seeing there?
I'm trying to understand what you're asking. So you're asking.
You see teams attack the version of how you guys play. Does that help you maybe evolve your defense?
We see teams. Talking about how teams play our defense or our offense.
No, your defense.
How other offenses play other defenses that are like us. Gotcha. Yeah. Those are things that you keep account for that throughout the year. Again, you do this there's all these reels that you're trying to keep track of the season, like touchdown tapes, explosive reels, things like that. So, there's like common trick plays that are going around the league that you want to be aware of. You got to be careful to go chasing ghosts to a certain extent. But yeah, it's important to. I think it's important to keep tabs of those guys and see what's going on for sure.
And on the extension of that, do you ever see, oh, that's how Bernard is doing this? That's cool.
Yeah, it happens all the time. Yeah, it happens in really all three levels. It's good. May or not talk to some of the guys, from week to week too. So
that's
good.
The other day was saying how he's been told forever that he's too small to play linebacker, and we asked AD about that, what's the difference here? Well, we didn't tell him he's too small. He was kind of joking, but how important is that as coaches to focus on hey, not here's your deficiencies or whatever, but here's what you do well?
Yeah, it's a great point, and I've learned this since I've gotten here. There's several examples of guys that you meet and you're trying to get used to the roster once you step in the door, and there's a lot of people that know these guys, and there's a lot of the reason that they're here is someone felt strongly enough at some point to add them to our team, and so it's a great exercise of actually saying, oh, I'm actually going to have go this thing with open eyes and give this player a chance, based off of what normal measurables would be, things like that. Maybe an initial practice, we're not going to kick a guy out the door after the first practice. We're going to actually let guys develop and go through that whole process, and so that has been a learning experience for me. And I'm glad that we had that process where they gave me some time to kind of come around on players and keep coaching them up, and that's paid a lot of dividends for us. So I'd say just John and his staff and the philosophy that he had, and us getting on the same page and operating like that has really helped us.
All right, that was head coach Mike Macdonald talking one last time with the media before taking off. Heading out there to take on the Tennessee Titans. Much more news still to come here on the Fox Local Live Desk. You see there, Seahawks wishing good luck to the Torrent, kicking off their inaugural season on the road tonight against Vancouver. They'll be back a week from today with their home opener. So exciting times for them. Love seeing the support for the Seahawks, or the Seahawks have for the Torrent. Meanwhile, do want to let you know, coming up next, we're going to be chatting a little bit about National Adoption Day. Celebrations popping up all across our country. That includes one happening in King County right now. We'll jump in and hear some of the sights and sounds taking place just a short time ago. Welcome into the Fox Local Live Desk. Got a live look out at SeaTac International Airport. A reminder, we are tracking the latest on the Olympic pipeline, which could eventually have effects on holiday travel. The good news is so far we're hearing from airliners like Delta and Alaska that they haven't seen it yet, but they are actually planning to try to bring in extra fuel, whether that's tanking it in with incoming flights or bringing in extra vehicles on the ground. All of this because of a multi-day shutdown after a leak up in Everett. We've got some details online at fox13seattle.com, and we are looking out ahead to some reporting from Fox 13's Shira Matsuzawa. That's just one of the many stories that we are tracking for you here on the Fox Local Live Desk. We also are getting the latest details on the Seattle City Council budget. That was just approved with a 9-0 vote in the past hour, and we've also been checking in as we get details on what's going on with this roundtable conversation about the Education Department. Senator Patty Murray in our area today as she talks about concerns about the Trump administration's plan to shut that down. But right right now, I want to jump in and have a little bit of a conversation, hand you off to an event that just took place out at the King County Superior Courthouse today. If you didn't know, National Adoption Day, a very important day. We're seeing events pop up all around the country and all around our area here. King County, Snohomish County, Skagit County, just to name a few of the counties that are hosting large-scale public events today. We're going to kick things off by hearing from Judge Suzanne Parisian up there in King County at the Superior Courthouse, talking about the importance of this day and what it means for those involved.
Adoption Day, ceremony, party, all those great words. I'm Judge Parisian, and it's my absolute honor to be here with you all today and to celebrate this amazing day. And we've got some fun things we're going to do. The first thing, I hope everyone's got lots of food and drinks and is ready to start. We're going to first, there's a lot of people that go into making this day as special as it is. And let me just say, when I say it's special, I can only talk about kind of my perspective, but it is all the judges, there's about 54 of us on King County, everyone agrees it is the funnest, most special, most joyous day of anything that we get to do. Every year, we have way more judges than people are volunteering. Please, can I get a family to adopt? Can I do their ceremony? Can I come? And we don't have quite enough for all the judges, but my goal one day is that we have all 54 judges here because we have that many people being adopted. So when I say it's a special day, let's just clap for a minute. All right, and it's really special because of all of you here and the forever families that have been made, not just today, of course, the whole past year. And so I'm going to do some thank yous. As I said, it's a big, fabulous, wonderful project that goes into National Adoption Day, and we literally start planning next year's Adoption Day in January. That's how long it takes to get everything together. And so there's a lot of folks that we need to thank. So many generous people, and not just people, of course, organizations. People have contributed so much of their time and their resources to make this day a success. And so I'm going to go ahead and thank those people so much, with so much enthusiasm, because we couldn't do it without them. First, we've got the KC Family Programs. They have provided the food. Who doesn't want food? Come on now. Woohoo! And we have my friends to my left here, our judicial officers who have taken part today in adopting our families. Some of them, most of them from here have done adoptions here today, but of course there's other judges that have done some all year, but we want to thank them, and that's Judges Ballinger, Judge Bender, Judge Ferguson, Judge Hawk, Judge Robertson, Judge Tinker, and Judge Wilson. Woohoo! All right. I'm going to read out all the rest, and then maybe we'll clap all at the end, because so we can give a warm welcome, a warm thank you to everyone here. We've got our King County Bar Association incoming president, Sydney Tribe. We've got the King County Bar Association, DCYF Regional Administrator Shay Hopfoff, Deputy Regional Administrator Tabitha Pomeroy, Adoptions Area Administrator Jennifer Marshall, and Permanency Program Consultant Megan Malinowski, and all of the DCYF social workers. Let me just... I just want to stop for a quick second here. Everyone we are grateful for. Before I was a judge, I spent a lot of time working in the Attorney General's office, and one of my clients was DCYF, and I had the absolute pleasure of working side by side with a lot of the social workers. And let me tell you that the work that they do during the day and at night and on the weekends, and with their heart and their soul in such important work that they do. And so I just know firsthand what they put into it, and so I want to just put an extra shout out for them. Yeah, one more. Thank you, DCYF social workers. All right, we have our adoption attorneys, Jana Anist, Michelle Hines, Gretchen Korb-Nice, and Jonathan Milstein. We have our fabulous musician, who was entertaining us. I don't know if he's still here. I hope so. Jonathan Brigar, our musical entertainer. We have Dependency Casas, Friends of Casa, professional photographers who made all the great pictures that you guys will look at forevermore. And those are Sadie Schnitzer, Lydia Brewer, Erin Scheidler, and Emily Trong. We have our 911 program office and sheriff office, our Seattle sports teams, the Seahawks, Mariners, and the Majestics. Our face painter, Rochelle Kellogg. Every year when I come here, I'm so lucky I get to do this almost every year. And I look at the face painting, and it's like gets better every single year. I don't know how anyone can possibly paint with such intricate detail on the face of a 3-year-old who's running around with balloons and eating juice boxes. Like, I don't know where you are, face painter, but maybe you should have been a surgeon, because you have rock steadiness of hand like a neurosurgeon. So thank you for making all of our kids here look so beautiful, even more than they already are. All right, that was the face painter, so important. Photo booth, Alicia Reyes. Our balloon artist, Amy Hall. Woohoo! The Seattle Aquarium, the Family Fun Center, the Woodland Park Zoo. We are going to be seeing some great prizes in some of our raffles that were given to us by these excellent organizations. We also have David Antis and Patty Jensen with Wendy's Wonderful Kids and Children's Home Society of Washington, Friends of the Youth, Apple Health Care Connections, King County Court TV, the National Adoption Day Committee. Folks, most of the work that goes into this is done by a few core people in our courts, and we're so lucky to have them. Megan Cordova, Tracy White, Regina Chin, Suzanne Large, Bo Zavavong, Tina Fosnick, Dennis Shikatat, Heather Houston, Genevieve Warner, Kendra Brown, Taryn LaRoche, and our own Gina Reyes. Poor Gina, she really... so much detail to put this together, and I'm so lucky I get to work with her all year long on Adoption Day, and she just, all the emails and putting it all together, she really gets this thing off to a great start, and so thank you, Gina. All right, and then we're almost done here. That's it. Okay. We are very, very happy. I want to say just a couple more things. I've already told you about what a great and joyful day this is here at the courthouse. Trust me, there's no other day where we have balloons and face painting and joy and happiness and forever families being made. We just don't get to do something so amazing. In a moment, I'm going to introduce to you our representative from the King County Council office, and who is going to read the proclamation that we have from King County, talking, recognizing the importance of National Adoption Day. I was reading through it this morning.
All right, so that was the judge overseeing all of these adoptions taking place today, but she wasn't the only one there. Obviously, you have families. We'll be hearing from them a little bit later in the day, but also one of the adoption paralegals. These are the folks that are in the thick of all this legalese 24/7, and you get the feeling, Gina Reyes talking about this, how exciting it truly is to be a part of something a little bit different this time of year when you have these National Adoption Day events. You heard Judge Parisian there talking about how so many people look forward to this. One of those people is this paralegal, Gina Reyes. Let's jump in and listen to her kind of walk you through what this means for all the people that work on the back end of this.
Today we celebrated 19 families that found their forever homes. These are children that are being adopted out of the foster care system. There's such a high need. As the proclamation was read, there's like 790 some kids that are waiting for forever homes. So today we got to highlight our county, among with other counties, got to highlight some of the ones that do get to have that forever family.
And were you able to be inside of the courtroom when they were making those adoptions?
Yes, I did have a chance to sit in on a couple of them. So one of them was a little child, but I did sit in on with the feature family.
And just walk us through what's that like to see those families kind of get that understanding that it's official and real.
Yeah, it's so special. So, as the adoption paralegal, I get to do all the legal kind of paperwork backside, but actually seeing it in person and feeling, when you're there, you feel the love in the room and so much support that the family has moving forward. And it really brings lots of tears of joy, really, for me personally, and I'm sure to the families. But it's just these children are finally being recognized, as forever families. They never have to worry about, being taken away and, going through those traumas that have led up to, some of them have come from various foster homes, different placements, and so to finally have that forever sense, in themselves makes a huge difference.
Yeah, and just talk with that family over there.
Yes.
It's really heartwarming to
Yes.
hear how they were able to keep the three
Yes.
together. And the thing that kind of struck me was they talked about how kind of easy it is once you make that first step.
Yeah.
And help
Yes.
you change one of their lives, and now they have three.
Yes.
Can you just talk to a little about maybe people on the edge of wanting to adopt and
Yeah, I think it takes a big heart to commit to something like that. Adopting the little children is a lot easier than adopting teenage boys. So, I'm sure they prayed about it as pastors and all of that. But yes, I think that it takes really special people to do that. But if you are really thinking about it, there's different organizations, like the DCYF. You can call them, you can learn about, how the foster care system works and what goes into that to become a parent and see if that's something that you want to do in your life. I'm sure that they have people there that also probably you can talk to that have gone through it themselves and that can guide them through the process. But it's just, informing yourself a little bit more. I think that if you have an inkling, you should really just go and research more about it and see what leads, from that.
Beautiful. So this is a national day, right?
Yes. Yeah, month. Yeah, the whole month. But yes.
The whole month.
Yeah.
So for King County, what does it mean to? I know the 790
Yeah.
are still there, but it's still 19 families were created today. That's special. What does that mean to you all?
It means just, foreverness. It means stability. It means having a safe home. All of those things that come, with children that are coming into that setting. When they're into the foster care system, they've usually been through a traumatic event. So for them to end up in a situation like this where they're being adopted, it just full circle, comes around and, I think this is a moment in time. I think that the kids are always going to remember. They know who's there for them, their parents, obviously, and they have the whole community, And so we started actually this event 24 years ago because one of our judges who retired now, he used to be the lead, he was adopted from China, I believe, I forget. But yes, he was adopted himself, and so this was something personal to him. So he started, the whole kind of movement of celebrating it. And then, now it's been year 24.
Great.
All right, so that takes you inside that event happening in King County. Again, we have other events taking place also. Just in Snohomish County, they wrapped up a separate one. We're actually going to hear from one of the families that got brought together through this process today. You heard 19 families involved today, 3 kids getting adopted by a family, an opportunity for them to stay together. We'll hear a little bit more about their story, and we'll also be checking with some other stories straight ahead after this short commercial break. Welcome in once again to the Fox Local Live Desk.
We're seeing
Just before the
increasing
break, we were
severity
talking
of
a
wild-
little bit about what's going on with these King County Adoption Day events. This is a special month where we see these events pop up all around the country, but this is the day where in Washington, numerous counties host these large-scale events. 19 adoptions made official today over at the King County Superior Courthouse. These are all children that were in the foster care system. And the next family we're going to hear from, they were actually a respite care family, basically meaning they take in kids for a few days at a time to give relief to a foster care family, but something stuck. And now you've got a family of 5 after today's ceremony taking place. So let's jump in and hear a little bit more about their story.
When they came home, I think we had a bond by kind of people that they were. Carl was a little quiet. Mike, free spirit. Ruben was jumpy. Mike was interested with every electronic in the house. And Ruben was just friendly. Then we got talking, different things that they like. Mike is big on football, talked about football. And we figured it's a good match. Yeah.
And why was it important for you to adopt all 3 of them?
Most of the time, like most foster care homes are not able to keep 3 kids together, and especially if they're teenagers. So there was a very high chance that they would have been separated. And we had the capability to have them together, and that was very huge for us because we just couldn't imagine them being in separate homes. So yeah, that's why we say that we want to do this with them together.
Yeah, and also the family unit is important to us, and we knew that having them separated would even not help them individually to build a family unit. So we really wanted them to be together. And it was important not just, we thought it important not just to us, but also to them, to be together.
And for you guys, what does it mean to have this family unit now, be with your brothers in this new setting?
It's fun most of the time.
We've almost
Most of the time?
Most of the time.
We've almost always been together, so it's been normal. Except for like this one time, but yeah, we've almost always been together.
He said it
Yeah, you can tell he is a little quiet there, but obviously you can feel the love with that family, and a very exciting day, not only for them, but all of these families really getting a chance to feel whole with this King County Adoption Day. All right, one more short break, then we're going to hand you off to the Fox 13 Seattle news feed.
Hi, happy Friday. I'm meteorologist Abby Aconi with your Fox Local and Fox13Seattle.com forecast. Let's do this. After a very chilly start to the day with isolated pockets of fog, we're expecting mainly cloudy skies today, fleeting sun breaks, if that. Temperatures in the low 50s this afternoon, and today there will be some showers for Whatcom County, the San Juans, the North Coast, dry otherwise. Very similar forecast for tomorrow, but rain returns for many spots in Puget Sound at some point overnight Saturday into Sunday morning, and then Sunday is looking damp at times. Highs today boosting to the low 50s for pretty much everybody in western Washington, and then the 40s as you go east of the Cascades, 44 for Spokane, low 50s Boise, and low 50s for Bend and Portland. Now, earlier this morning, we were also battling dense fog for many spots in western Oregon, and then we also have the chance for sneaker waves for the Oregon coast, the South Washington coast through Sunday night. So we're going to track that. This is your Futurecast as we spin you into Saturday morning. Sunshine eastern Oregon, cloudier skies to the northwest, and rain really impacting Vancouver Island. Your 7-day forecast shows only isolated showers on Monday with some sun breaks and temperatures plunging in a big way. We are down to the upper 30s in Seattle Monday, Tuesday mornings. Highs only at 46 on Tuesday. Scattered rain on Wednesday and showers for your Thanksgiving. That's a look at what we're tracking. Have a great rest of your Friday.
I'm Lauren Helmbrecht, and this is the Morning Sports Minute. On paper, the Seattle Seahawks have an easy matchup against the Titans this weekend. The Hawks are taking on a Tennessee team with just one win and the worst offense in the league when it comes to yards per game. However, Seattle coming off a 4-interception loss to the Rams, and Seahawks lead the league with 20 giveaways this season.
Yeah, I mean, it's unacceptable. We understand as an offense we have to be better. I have to be better protecting the football, and we're doing everything that we can in practice, and when the game comes to try to, take care of the football a little bit better.
To women's soccer and the NCAA tournament, the Huskies in the round of 32 taking on Arkansas. Tied 0-0, sudden death overtime. It's Alex Buck, 1-2 for the win. She scored both goals in the first round for the Huskies, and now Buck sends the Dogs to the Sweet 16 in dramatic fashion. An overtime golden goal. That match will be played on Virginia in Charlottesville in the Sweet 16. Elsewhere, the Sounders have released their schedule for 2026. The season starts Sunday, February 22nd at home against the Colorado Rapids. Sounders will then be on the road for 5 consecutive games from the end of the month until early April to allow for new grass to be put into Lumen Field in preparation for the World Cup. Coming out of the midseason break, the Sounders get a marquee matchup right off the bat, a home game against their rivals Portland Timbers on Thursday, July 16th at 7:30. The Sounders will end the season on November 7th at home against LAFC for Decision Day. I'm Lauren Helmbrecht. That was your Morning Sports Minute.
The video you're about to see is quite intense. Now, according to deputies, they knew this man was quite dangerous. We now know he's only 20 years old. Deputies are accusing him of being involved in a deadly drive-by shooting of 2 teenage brothers who are just 16 and 17 years old. Now, I want to get straight to that video.
All right, Marlon.
Get up here, grapple. This all happened just before 9 last night. Sheriff Sanders says officers trying to box that suspect in. That's when the 20-year-old hits the gas. Deputies deployed what's called a grappler, basically a device meant to catch the suspect's rear tire. For a moment, you can see it works, but then it snaps in half.
It's off, it's off. It's off, it's off. It's off, it's off. Snapped it.
The driver was going 117 miles an hour. Almost immediately, officers turn their sirens on, and as they try to catch up to that suspect who is just weaving in and out of traffic again at very high speeds. A few moments later, deputies hit the back end of the car, performing what they call is a pit maneuver. The 20-year-old's car veers off the road, it rolls, and then he's thrown from the car. Deputies say somehow he only suffered minor injuries. Take a look at this. According to Sheriff Sanders, an AR-15 with a 60-round magazine were also tossed from the car. The sheriff says deputies also found more guns inside. Now, Again, we know that this is the second individual that is linked and accused to be involved in the deadly shooting of just 2 teenage brothers. We have a full story up on our website, fox13seattle.com. In Thurston County, I'm Alejandra Guzman.
It may look like any other house during the day, but at night, it teleports you to the world of Oz. Amy and Jacob Gowie enjoy decorating their home during the holiday for all to see.
I feel like it's kind of like the modern way of Christmas caroling because people don't Christmas carol anymore. So it's like delivering music to your neighborhood, a little gift.
After Halloween, the Gowies changed their decorations to celebrate the new Wicked movie that's releasing on Friday. They've seen the play 3 times and already bought their movie tickets.
We're taking my folks up in Spokane out on Thanksgiving, so already bought them. We'll be up there to see it with them.
Amy builds the playlist and designs the lights, while Jacob does the programming to synchronize the lights to music. This year's new feature is a projector screen showing different clips throughout the movie.
To try to be respectful of neighbors instead of blaring over a speaker all night long, we transmit on a low-band frequency radio on local stations and sync it up. In this case, we hooked it up with a small computer, so it will play a clip on a projector that synchronizes with a radio transmitter. So that way you can just pull up in a car and listen to it and stay in the warmth the whole time.
It takes about 2 days to set up the whole display. The lights will stick around until Easter, but the theme will keep changing.
Looking to keep it up through Thanksgiving so that anyone that's coming up and watching the show. And then as the season progresses, we'll move on to new themes, and I'll let my boss here come up with her inspirations on what she would like to show next. So to be determined.
Welcome back. For more than a century, the historic Freight House Square has stood as a vibrant testament to Tacoma's railroad history, a bustling hub of local commerce and a cherished landmark in the Dome District. But as photojournalist Michael Driver shows us, the historic building faces an uncertain future as a crucial piece of regional progress threatens to erase a part of the city's soul.
You could see this building a million times and still not see it. A person can see an old abandoned warehouse, but you have to be able to walk inside and see what it has to offer.
That's the baby. I mean, this place is magical. It's a historic landmark.
It goes back to 1906 when it was the western terminus for the Milwaukee Rail. You know where the modern platform is now, Freight House on the left. It was a freight house, you know, hence the name. Yeah, this is all original Freight House flooring. Now it's been turned into event space, art space.
People like to gravitate towards the dogs with wigs because it brings them joy.
Manufacturing, repair.
There we go.
5 stories here. We're 3 city blocks long.
Food court's always full.
Special is 5 shrimp and 2 fish. And what are you having?
We've got a haunted house. We've got an escape room.
So we have our bling bling bags over here.
Retail, of course.
We have a wide variety of items. I think it's worth people to come down here and see, so that they can see all these cute little items we get in here, like this. Woo! So cute. I love it. Oh my gosh. Woo! Can't wait to put those on the floor.
Just a lot of things going on here in one building.
I've been coming here for probably close to 30 years.
1992, 36 years, and we live for this.
And we treat them like our family. That's the key thing.
There's something majestic about this place.
You ever go into business and you just don't feel welcome? Everybody down here makes you feel welcome.
This is an environment for that, for you to come down here and feel welcome, feel like you have a place to go, a place to shop that you can call your own. You know, I want you to walk out of here with joy, because my store motto is, it's all about you. That is the store motto. It's all about you.
I think why I'm here in this moment right now is because I wanted to emphasize how important that this building, the Freight House Square, is to a person like me. It's given me relationships, purpose, and this place has perpetuated me as a human being in so many different levels. I love this place, and if they're gonna try to take it away from me, I don't know how bad that's gonna affect me, but I know not only is it gonna affect me, but it's gonna affect the people that have put quite literally years of blood, sweat, tears, money.
2637.
We're kind of in purgatory with Sound Transit. And, you know, they want to tear the building down and put a train platform here.
Ultimately, it looks like it's going to be a complete taking, where this will be removed and replaced with 100% transit asset.
It's really tough to think about, because everybody who owns a business here or works here, it's a real sense of community. Everybody looks out for one another. So if that goes away, I mean, we're not going to get another one of these places. We're just not going to be another freight house. You know, this is part of the heart and soul of Tacoma.
It doesn't take a lot of imagination to see that this is the best option. Logistically, it's tough. But once again, we're not the only people here making decisions. If somebody has a higher and better use for it, and they got more money and power than we do, who are we to stand in the way? The train's coming. What do? You get out of the way.
This building has a lot to offer, and it always has.
There's a very strong sense of community in this place.
I wish more people would just come and be a part of this place.
More people were to come down here and see it for themselves. I think it would make a difference, a huge difference.
We got probably 2 years before the hammer falls.
Can you help me in 2 years? But right now, I want to do my time here. This is my baby.
So there's still plenty of time, you know, to come in here.
Even if you don't shop, just come down to see it. You know, this is for you. This is for our community.
You'll find something unique here, and I think that a lot of people deserve to have an experience like that in their lives.
Yeah, like that.
Be able to have that little moment. I think that it's worth fighting for, because this is a part of Tacoma's history. What I think the foundation of Tacoma really is, and that's genuine love, care, and community. And that's what this place has.
Well, don't worry, you still have some time to visit Freight House Square. The final decision won't be made until the decision is finalized and the design, and that will happen sometime in 2020.
For days, the world watched as down our coast, tragedy washed ashore.
With that humpback off the coast of Oregon, what caused it to strand, because they're saying that the humpback looked really healthy, was it was entangled in fishing gear or crab pots. And loosening restrictions might risk more and more things like that happening. And we have seen firsthand how the Marine Mammal Protection Act has benefited the ecosystem. So over the last decade, we have what has been called the humpback comeback.
Tamara Kelly of Orca Conservancy tells me they aren't the only long migrating giants to benefit from its passing.
We've had this big increase of the bigs, or the transient mammal-eating killer whales, come into the Salish Sea, and the reason is they have enough to eat.
She explains in the 1960s, prior to the Protection Act,
seals and sea lions, you were allowed to hunt them, so they were almost wiped to extinction.
Sunning themselves on docks in Fauntleroy, you can see for yourself how they're faring today. But Tamara is fearful. Numbers could dwindle if an Alaska congressman has his way. This is Representative Nick Begich's draft bill aimed at amending the Marine Protection Act of 1972. The argument for it is what became law half a century ago has gone too far, and it's time to ease regulations for the sake of coastal communities now that many species have returned to healthy numbers.
It's basically going to undo what's already been written. And so by removing these protective layers of the Marine Mammal Protection Act, we're basically opening the door to say, you know what, major oil company, you don't have to worry about cleaning up your mess from this project, or you're allowed to have access to this protected habitat.
She's talking about shorelines like this, Point Robinson on Vashon, a popular spot to see the southern resident killer whales pass by, or preserved marine parks like this one, which is one of the largest undeveloped properties in all of Puget Sound. And we didn't just talk to one agency about this. We contacted another across the Sound. Are they concerned about this too?
We're going to lose all that progress we made over the past 50 years with this Marine Mammal Protection Act. The ones that have recovered, put them at risk again, and the ones that are still at risk, put them at even more risk.
Veterinary nurse Casey McLean is chiming in to say these rollbacks are on her radar too. As executive director of Des Moines-based SR3, Sea Life Response and Rehabilitation, she was among the first responders on scene providing medical support in Oregon as crews tried to save the young humpback's life.
I think in the future, this could be impacted by those funding reductions that we're facing. You know, perfect example of that is the day before the teams had been able to arrive, there was the public in the water with this animal. Fortunately, no one was severely injured to my knowledge and no deaths, but that is a real possibility that can happen if we don't have response teams.
I think they definitely go hand in hand, because when we lose access to funding, that makes it harder for us to do our work. But in addition to that, they're trying to make our work harder by removing these protections and these regulations that were put in place to hold agencies and industries accountable.
I tend to lose track of things and start doing jokes.
Opening with a joke is the way Dan McCowan likes to roll.
Run over the camera. Got it.
This professional comedian has been making people laugh since the 80s. His first joke played on a childhood classmate.
Hey, somebody stole your camera.
But what he faced on this gray day in 2005 at the Tacoma Mall was no laughing matter.
20 years ago, I got shot 5 times and I got paralyzed.
Dan was working as an assistant manager at a cutlery shop when Dominic Maldonado walked into a different store and started shooting. Dan happened to be armed, and the master of stand-up decided it was time to stand up.
I drew my gun, threw myself in the frame of the store, where I can look, down.
When he didn't immediately see Maldonado.
So I thought, okay, I'll put my gun away, but I'll keep my hand on it. That way, if I need it, it's there. I should be fine. And then I take one step, and that's when he comes into view.
He hesitated to shoot someone so young.
I said, young man, I think you need to put your weapon down. He responded by filling me full of bullets.
Dan was hit in the stomach and leg and still suffers from pain.
I think it's important that we seek God, because that's really kind of what helped manage things in the big picture.
With Maldonado sentenced to more than 160 years behind bars, Dan hopes the life he spared will be a life changed.
He's got an extension on life. Hopefully he doesn't waste it.
Though the shooting took much of his mobility, Dan's spirit and humor remain strong as ever.
Well, I love the fact that I have a lot of footnotes in medical journals.
Razors is a tax for having hair in the wrong places.
He now makes others laugh on YouTube and at danmccowan.com.
We've got a Bigfoot hunting sketch on there that I think is kind of fun.
Proving some heroes don't wear capes but wield a microphone.
What I speak to is the fact that we choose to be courageous or not.
And inspire others with a joke and a mean set of wheels instead.
Courage is a choice. Choose courage.
In Seattle, Jennifer Dowling, Fox 13 News.
you've never seen one before, just kind of imagine like a 15-pound potato just running around in the alpine meadows.
For 5 months a year, you may stumble across these portly critters on your hike. And if you don't spot them, well, maybe you hear them. Lovingly referred to as the whistle pig,
which is probably the cutest nickname I've ever heard for an animal before. They make this really sharp whistle sound as an alert call when they see predators.
And in our state's far left corner, one specific species, the Olympic marmot, is on high alert. Northwest Trek Conservation Manager Mark Heinzman explains, as temperatures warm, flowery alpine meadows are vanishing, making way for new predators.
Coyotes have become more and more of a challenge in the last few decades as their populations have grown and they moved into marmot habitat.
All across the state, you'll spot marmots in Rainier, on the Palouse. But what's happening to these fluffy rodents on the peninsula is unique. See, compared to its cousin, the hoary marmot.
Up in the Cascades, we're not seeing quite the same effects yet, primarily just because it's a little bit of a higher elevation and more rugged, so the marmots are able to be a little higher up and where the weather is still a little bit more reliable. The Olympic marmot is the one that you'll find out in the Olympic Peninsula, and they are only found there. It's the only place in the entire world that you can find that species, and 90% of them live within the national park that's out there.
It's estimated just 2,000 to 4,000 Olympic marmots remain.
So if those marmots disappear, it's likely we'll never have marmots in the Olympic Peninsula again.
The Center for Biological Diversity filed this petition back in May of 2024 to get the Olympic marmot on the endangered species list. The feds were given a deadline of 90 days to respond, but here we are well over a year later and they have not heard anything back. And that is why they're taking legal action.
It really doesn't make sense, and I would hope that the Fish and Wildlife Service would be meeting that deadline more frequently than it is.
Spokesperson Aaron Kunkler tells me prior to the Trump administration, the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service generally responded within 90 days. So now their only recourse to getting results is to sue.
The Endangered Species Act protection creates a mandate that Fish and Wildlife prevent protected species from going extinct. So basically it creates a legal obligation that requires them to do, basically whatever it takes to keep the species from going extinct.
Based on the threats they're facing, it seems like they are worthy of protection for sure.
Mark is on board. Compared to the big animals he looks after here at the park, this high-altitude chatterbox can only be seen from above 4,000 feet. So its plight may have gone unnoticed to some.
They could definitely stand to have a little more of a brighter light shown on them so people can truly appreciate how special they are. They're iconic to the Olympic Peninsula and iconic to the state, and we want to make sure they're around for a long time.
The thieves smashed a vehicle into the area of the store behind me that is now boarded up. Cement barriers in front of the door did slow them down, as well as additional security measures right inside the cushery. That gave police enough time to get here in order to give chase. Security video shows the moment thieves smashed into the Cushery Cannabis shop. Early Sunday, 2 cars appeared, the driver in one of the vehicles first pushing a cement bollard out of the way, then ramming the storefront, triggering an alarm. At one point, the group appeared to jump out of the getaway car and tried to run into the store, but there was one more secure barrier the car had not punched through. The group had to wait as the driver rammed it again before they could run in. Law enforcement was on the scene just as video showed the group jumping back into a getaway car and speeding away as they gave chase. Regular customer Tina Littlefield says that it was disappointing to hear about the theft.
I really support local businesses. This is a local business, so I hate to see anything bad happen.
Mill Creek Police and the Snohomish County Sheriff's Office say they pursued the group in what they now believe was a stolen Kia Optima from the shop south to the Maltby area, where they used spike strips to damage the car's tires near 180th and SR9, the driver crashing into a ditch.
I don't know what possesses people to even think of doing something like that. That's not something I would have ever done, even at 17.
Law Law enforcement said 6 dressed in masks, gloves, and hooded jackets ran from the car.
My only comment was, I hope they caught them and prevent them from committing further crime.
A King County Sheriff's Office canine unit helped to track the group east to a large property where the 17-year-old was taken into custody.
I hope that people just think things through a little bit more. Like I said, with local businesses, it's hard enough to keep going.
If you can identify the other suspects, you're asked to call the Snohomish County Sheriff's Office. I did try to ask employees here how much merchandise that the thieves were able to get away with or what they stole. They were not ready to comment this evening. Reporting from Everett, Jennifer Dowling, Fox 13 News.
So it just brings up little memories of different things.
For 31 years, the answers never came, but the memories never left.
Her new bike.
This is how Teresa Frazier keeps her daughter close. Tanya's birthday parties, always around Halloween because she was born October 29th. Costumes, party hats, and a good time frozen on glossy paper.
Where we were living when she disappeared. It's the backyard.
Then there's also Tanya's last professional photo, framed but not hanging. It stays tucked in Teresa's room, too hard to see every day. Teresa is preparing to walk into the King County courtroom and for the first time face the man prosecutors say killed her daughter.
I'm actually nervous about it.
Detectives knocked on Teresa's door to let her know prosecutors have charged 57-year-old Mark Anthony Russ with murder, saying new DNA technology tied him to Tanya's disappearance and death in July of 1994.
Kind of brought up emotions all over again of like the day they came out and told me that they found her and she was killed.
Seattle police say Tanya was last seen leaving Minnie Middle School on a Monday. Her body was found 2 days later. For more than 3 decades, Rose Winquist has been working Tanya's case since the very beginning.
Notes upon notes upon notes.
Rose kept every note she wrote. Tanya's face inside every other page. A teen she met through mementos in her bedroom.
She was a little 14-year-old girl. I have letters that I took from her room that talk about my life story, and I had to laugh. And it's like, and she talks about things like, oh, there's this new character on Sesame Street. He's really cute. His name's Elmo, right?
Rose says there were clues, even back then, that Russ may have lived steps from someone Tanya knew. Russ's mother lived across the street from Minnie Middle School, according to court documents. Rose doesn't believe Tanya was someone he chose randomly.
The reason, potentially, that he killed her is because she could identify him.
Court documents say Russ, an unregistered sex offender, was convicted several times, including of a home invasion robbery in 1996. He was sentenced to life in prison, but in 2021, he was resentenced and released from prison due to changes in state law. Teresa has lost more than a daughter.
She could have been married now. She could have had kids, grandkids. And she didn't have a chance to even finish high school because this man took her life.
But the question Teresa is now asking is why the man charged in her daughter's murder slipped through the system for decades.
I think in many ways the system failed Tanya because the DNA, like I said, has definitely progressed over the years, and the police had it early on, but the problem was they didn't have the killers.
Teresa and Rose never stopped trying to keep Tanya's case alive. Now they're holding on to hope that justice won't slip away. The difference now is they're focused on remembering Tanya, not the crime, but the child she was.
I will always remember her as a sweet person and loving. She was just a happy kid, and that her life got taken away.
Reporting for the Fox Local Live Desk, I'm Alejandra Guzman.
Now here's why this announcement matters. These are the people who will help shape what gets done first and what gets pushed when it comes to issues within the city of Seattle. Wilson's team provided us with a list of members and their photos.
During her first speech, Wilson shared her ambitious goals as mayor-elect.
I want everyone in this great city of ours to have a roof over their head. I want universal childcare and free K-8 summer care. I want world-class mass transit. I want great, safe public spaces where kids can run around with abandon. I want stable, affordable housing for renters. I want social housing. I want much more land and wealth to be owned and stewarded by communities instead of corporations. I want a robust economy with thriving small businesses, great living wage jobs, and strong rights for workers.
Up first, her transition director, Andres Mantilla. He's a partner with Uncommon Bridges and has over 20 years of public policy experience. He knows how City Hall operates. He's worked under 2 Seattle mayors, Greg Nichols and Jenny Durkin, and ran the city's Department of Neighborhoods. Wilson is also bringing in 4 co-chairs from very different political viewpoints. Karen Estevanin leads Protect 17, a major labor union. She says effective governance begins with a supported, equipped, and engaged workforce. This is big because the mayor-elect will be negotiating budgets and contracts. Tiffany McCoy stands out as the most progressive voice in the group. She is the co-executive director for House Our Neighbors, which advocates for social housing. Housing is one of Wilson's top issues. McCoy, being part of her transition team, makes it clear homelessness and affordable housing will be front and center issues. Quinn Pham runs Friends of Little Saigon.
Little Saigon is feeling the brunt of some of the safety issues happening in the downtown core.
A community that's been struggling with safety for the last few years. 12th and Jackson has been a problem area plagued with open drug use and the resale of stolen items. Coming from a small business family, Pham is passionate about community-driven solutions to support and protect small migrant and refugee-owned businesses. And Brian Surratt, with 25 years of experience as an economic development leader.
How do we create a world-class arena?
That was Brian back in 2016 during talks as investor groups were interested in redeveloping what used to be Key Arena, home of the long-gone Sonics, without a commitment from the NBA or the NHL. He negotiated the city's $1.2 billion development to build Climate Pledge Arena. Today, he's the president and CEO of Cradle Seattle Partners, but he was key in helping raise Seattle's minimum wage to $15 an hour in 2014.
Together with Wilson, they'll set priorities to help map out the mayor-elect's first months in office and what priorities and problems the city will tackle on day one. The mayor-elect has not yet announced who will be part of her administration, something Fox 13 will keep a close eye on. In the newsroom, I'm Alejandra Guzman.
was during the holiday season back in 2021 when 36-year-old Austin Lemming disappeared. Kent police launching a homicide investigation just days later when he was reported missing to Puyallup police. Now, 4 years later, investigators say they've pieced together some of Austin's last movements. Perhaps the most incriminating evidence, they say, after Lemming disappeared on or around December 7, 2021, he was at the suspect's apartment. After obtaining a search warrant, police searched the 46-year-old man's apartment, finding blood and other evidence indicating Austin was there. After calling Austin's mom, Karen, Wednesday night, she told me she wasn't prepared to do an on-camera interview because the new information is still very raw. Just months ago, Fox 13 interviewed her when an increase in reward money was offered.
Welcome into the Fox Local Live Desk. Once again, I am Matthew Smith, joining here, kind of walking you through today's headlines. Do want to get back to that conversation about this pipeline and the spill that took place earlier this week up in Everett. Work currently underway trying to clean this thing up. We got some new photographs that I want to show you that we have gotten from the Department of Ecology. Do want to let you know we're going to be checking in with Fox 13 Shira Matsuzawa coming up in Seattle News tonight. So that's about 24 minutes away, and she'll get you some more reporting on this. But these are some of the new images coming into our newsroom that'll get you details on what this looks like. We still, roughly a week after all this began, do not have any idea how much fuel, petroleum product, whatever you want to call it, has spilled from this pipeline. We've just been trying to get as much detail as we can throughout the last couple of days here. By the way, this is a pipeline that has had some notable events in the past. You may remember, if you've been in the area a long time, there was that deadly explosion back in 1999. This is that same pipeline. That was up in Bellingham. Claimed the lives of 3 people, including 2 10-year-olds, after an explosion took place. It was later bought by BP in 2006. Since then, a pretty safe safety record, but we have seen spills pop up, some of the bigger ones just more recently. That includes in 2023 when 21,000 plus gallons spilled in Conway, Washington. We are actually expecting a sizable fine from the Department of Ecology. I reached out to them today to find out what exactly is going on, because it appears that they have a post up online that says there's a $3.8 million fine, but when you click on it, the information doesn't appear. It's almost as if the website has already been taken down. I did reach out, and we have yet to hear back from Ecology on that, but obviously they're also busy right now with this ongoing situation in Everett instead of Skagit County, where we saw it last time. We got this letter in from Senator Maria Cantwell's office just a short while ago, and this one is rather interesting because it brings up some details about how the leak was actually discovered. You'll catch it when I read it here. She writes, "The fact that a blueberry farmer, not BP, first identified the spill and that it is still not known for certain which of the 2 pipelines is leaking raises significant concerns about the capabilities of the Olympic Pipeline's leak detection systems and the adequacy of your inspections and maintenance programs." That is just part of the letter that was filed today by Senator Maria Cantwell, sent to BP. And I'll note, it's rather interesting too, because she demands a couple of things in the letter, including a deadline for when she expects information. So today's the 21st. She notes in here that she expects, I'll quote this, "briefings to my committee that answers the following questions no later than Monday, November 24th. So she's expecting details from BP at the beginning of next week. And she said she wants written responses and responsive documentation as soon as possible, but no later than the 28th. So we're talking about a busy situation here, and she lists 9 specific questions that she has about the Olympic pipeline. Again, I noted this is an area that is no stranger to spills. On your screen right now, part of the video that we shot back in 2023 when more than 20,000 gallons of gas spilled. If you're unaware, this pipeline does a few things. It carries a variety of petroleum products, so we're using a couple of different verbiage here. We're talking about gas when it was down in Skagit County back in 2023, but we're talking jet fuel this time around, which is why it's been very important what's kind of taking place here. I'll note that we have details that this could potentially impact travel. Now, the good news is I've been chatting with a number of airlines today, trying to get some details about what their situation is. We heard from Alaska Airlines that they're actually kind of looking at contingency plans that would include doing things like filling up jets with extra fuel that come in here, so more jet fuel than they would need to get to Seattle-Tacoma International Airport, so that they are kind of pre-fueled when they get here. Also, on some of their longer routes, they may actually stop on the way here and get fuel. Those are two of their options. A third option would just be trucking more jet fuel into the area, because this pipeline actually supplies the airport. And so as we look at the holiday season, a lot of questions. Delta gave us a similar response, that they are watching this, but so far we're not seeing any impacts, but obviously concerns. Would this lead to delays? Would this lead to cancellations? That is the question ahead of a very busy travel season. But of course, we're also talking about the safety aspect of all of this. Pipeline Safety Trust. It was a group that was formed back in 1999 after that deadly incident up in Bellingham. Bill Karam is the executive director of that group. His group focuses on safety, and he's got some shocking details about how often we see leaks and injuries tied to pipelines all across the country. Let's listen into a portion of this interview. Again, part of the reporting we're expecting in the 4 o'clock hour from Fox 13's Shira Matsuzawa.
Anytime you hear about something with the Olympic pipeline, especially if you're in Bellingham, and especially if you're part of the organization I'm a part of, you immediately think of 26 years ago in June of 1999, when the Olympic pipeline spilled and eventually ignited and took the lives of 3 boys from our community.
So I guess from then to now, have there been improvements in safety, and what does that mean for us today?
There have been improvements in safety since 1999. The regulations are a lot more robust than they were at the time. We have a lot more technology that's helps operators keep their pipelines operating in more consistently. They're able to spot problems more regularly before they become problems. But we still have a significant pipeline failure somewhere in America almost every day, despite all of that. We still are losing 10 to 12 lives each year somewhere across the country due to pipeline failures. So we still have a long way to go.
What are some of the concerns when it comes to this particular leak right now that's happening here?
Well, for this particular leak right now, I don't have too much information, but I know a lot of people are concerned about the availability of jet fuel at the airport, which very understandable. But being a safety organization, we're much more concerned about if this were to contaminate water sources, especially being close by to some salmon rivers and things like that. Those are the first things that come to mind for us, and we don't have a lot of information just yet.
Yeah, well, we were talking about there's this potential impact to the airport too, and flights. Can you talk about that maybe, and how that works, or how it stems from there?
Well, again, we're a safety organization and not a reliability organization, so we don't focus on that part of it too much. However, I know operators have lots of storage facilities that they place or they build strategically around to allow for regular interruptions in service due to maintenance or failures or things like that. And so I would imagine there is some of that at SeaTac, but I'm not too familiar with it.
For context, Bill, for folks who might not be familiar, walk me through what the Pipeline Safety Trust is all about.
Sure. So that failure I mentioned 26 years ago in 1999, that killed 3 boys. The families of those boys came together, and the community of Bellingham came together, and they learned a lot about pipelines and how they were regulated, and they were really appalled at what they found, that the the laws were very, very loose, and operators were really allowed to, determine safety on their own in a lot of cases, and the regulators were asleep at the wheel. And so those families, the community of Bellingham, advocated for the formation of a watchdog organization that would, provide some accountability to the operators and to the regulators. They lobbied to U.S. Congress, they lobbied to the Department of Justice, and out of the settlement of that case, the Department of Justice agreed and set aside an endowment to form that watchdog organization for the whole country, and that's what became the Pipeline Safety Trust.
Wow. Given how you guys were created, do you feel like there is enough safety precautions being taken right now?
No, I don't. I think just the fact that we still have a significant incident almost every day somewhere in the country, and 10 to 12 people a year are still dying from pipeline failures, we have a long way to go.
What more needs to be done?
Well, it's really, a combination of effective regulations, strong enforcement, and what are called safety management systems, which are can be required by law, but they're really up to an organization to implement. And so, we have a lot of regulations in place that I would not consider effective. They leave a lot up to the operator, and that makes it really hard for a regulator to enforce or really inspect to make sure they're doing the job they need. And so having some more prescriptive regulations would help that a lot. The second piece would be stronger enforcement. We try to produce some graphics showing what the fines are after failures and tragic failures even. And when you compare it to an operator's, quarterly earnings, these fines don't even really show up. They're such a small blip of the earnings, and they're not financially meaningful. So we need to see stronger enforcement. And then, some operators have really taken the lead on these safety management systems and are really developing this system of continued improvement. But a lot of operators haven't, and we really need to see that widespread across the industry.
What do you want folks to know who might be watching this later on and, maybe they remember what happened in the 90s and this is kind of triggering back some of those memories? What do you want them to know?
We have come a long way since the 90s. And I think, when you look at the recent failures of the Olympic pipeline, they could have been a lot worse and they weren't. We haven't seen the amount of gasoline or jet fuel or whatever is in the pipeline at the time of the failure release that we did in 1999. So, I think pipelines fail less often than they used to. And when they do fail, there are some mitigation measures in place that prevent that from being as large as they used to be. However, those catastrophic events still happen. They still happen all over the country. And so these incidents are still a reminder of what those consequences can be. The lives of 3 boys in the case of Bellingham, 10 to 12 people a year somewhere across the country in other cases. And I don't want these types of failures to become routine. Each of these failures is a reminder of those consequences. And for the operator, each failure is an opportunity to provide, complete transparency and be accountable.
All right, so that was Bill Karam, the Executive Director of Pipeline Safety Trust. We'll be hearing more from him coming up on Seattle News Tonight. But the latest, these are the images coming in on the ground. This is an area we can't actually get to, these new images right here. This one with the booms are these absorbent posts that are put into the areas where fuel apparently got into the agriculture area, the irrigation ditch, if you will, just put out by Department of Ecology earlier today. And this shows some of the work that they're doing on the ground. You see those large excavators removing soil Unclear at this time if they're digging up specifically to get down to the pipeline or if they're actually removing contaminated soil. That is just some of the work that obviously will have to be done. We do not have a timetable how long any of this will be underway, but you see there on your screen, Senator Cantwell already calling for answers, sent a letter to BP. She just released that, and we had some details. 9 specific questions that she's expecting answers by Monday. So we'll, of course, pay attention to that. Meanwhile, you have the ongoing situation out at Seattle-Tacoma International Airport, where there is concern that enough jet fuel may not get there in time. Some of the larger air carriers out of there, including Alaska and Delta, looking at contingencies, but so far they say they have not been affected. But the good news is they are at least aware of the situation, because again, jet fuel comes through the Olympic pipeline, which is the pipeline that is shut down right now because of this ongoing situation up in Everett. All right, that gets you caught up on what we're seeing here at the Fox 13 Seattle newsroom. I, of course, will continue to track the latest as we work our way closer and closer to the 4 o'clock hour. That means Seattle News Tonight is coming up in just a little bit. We'll take a short commercial break here, and when we come back on the other side, we'll get ready to hand you off for more news, weather, and sports with Seattle News Tonight. Welcome back into the Fox Local Live Desk, everybody. I'm Matthew Smith. I mentioned earlier we are getting ready to hand you off to Seattle News Tonight. In the meantime, I want to hand you off first, the Fox 13 Seattle news feed. These are some of the stories that our crews have been working on inside the newsroom. That includes kind of what you need to be looking out for as we get closer to Christmas. Those holiday scams start ramping up. Fox 13's David Rose speaking with one of the experts. Let's check in on what he's hearing.
I'm joined by Cliff Steinhauer with the National Cybersecurity Alliance. So Cliff, thanks for speaking with us.
Absolutely. Happy to be here.
Well, scammers have been targeting holiday shoppers for many years. Now AI is making the problem worse. We all shop online. I do it all the time. Literally, it feels like almost every day. So what are the top ways that scammers are using AI to try to trick me?
Yeah, so they're using AI in lots of different ways. So they prey upon our sense of urgency, getting us to act quickly, using known products and brands, and using the social proof of influencers or celebrities promoting products. That's nothing new. What's new is the way that AI is playing into all of that. They're able to do it better, faster, cheaper, and with a lot less technical know-how. So as you know, generative AI, you can just talk to it with plain language. You don't have to know how to write programming. You don't have to know how to write code. And so the bad guys are now able to do things that they weren't able to do before because maybe they didn't have that kind of technical expertise. In addition to that, AI can help them know how to psychologically influence people. So they can become expert marketers basically overnight just by asking AI, hey, how can I scam this person? Or how can I write some kind of script or some kind of story to help make it more believable? So another way that AI is being used is to create deep fakes. It's also being used to create fake profile images of people or celebrities, and then also to just straight up duplicate and make fake versions of legitimate websites. That's really easy to do with AI. So take a known brand, take a known website or merchant, and then feed it into an AI system to make a duplicate where all the money goes to the scammer instead, and you've basically got a recipe for deception.
Wow. So what are the red flags that shoppers should watch out for?
Some of the red flags are going to be probably things we've heard before. So deals that are too good to be true, super limited time offers, and then the other one is just sources of information. So if you're thinking about clicking on a link in a social media site or a sponsored search result, that's where you need to be careful, because scammers can actually buy ads too and send us to scammy websites where they're going to steal our money. So if it has a too good to be true type of deal, if it's the first result that's sponsored, or if you're just scrolling through social media and you see an ad that's like, wow, this is like the perfect thing for exactly what I was thinking, it's because they're targeting you directly because of your preferences and interests. And then they usually have that super good offer and a very limited time deal for you to take advantage of that offer.
All right, so that is just some of the stuff that you can learn about. More details on that story and many others on fox13seattle.com. Did want to jump in here before we hand you off to Seattle News Tonight to let you know we got a final update from Everett Community College. They had that lockdown earlier today for literally just minutes while we were on air, and then it got canceled. They note that law enforcement were worried about some folks that were nearby that were a potential threat, but they add nobody was ever in harm's way, and they actually have opened things up for folks at the school that may have been there to talk to professionals if needed at Everett Community College. As a result, but again, nobody hurt there on campus. You guys know the drill. If you're watching us right now on fox13seattle.com or our local app, just stick right here. If you're watching this on Fox 13 Plus and want more news, Seattle News Tonight is up next on Fox 13. Now is the time to switch it over. Thanks so much for joining us.
Lori Marmot.
Brand new video shows the moment a driver hits a man in Renton and just keeps going.
The crucial clue left behind, the troopers say, could help identify the suspect.
As the federal government eyes new restrictions for SNAP benefits, we are hitting the road with one food bank here in Tacoma to show you how the need locally is only continuing to grow.
A seemingly healthy mother collapses, leaving her with questions about her health, and it turns out new technology had a lot of those answers.
For me, it saved my life.
Her story of survival and how health professionals say the tech is saving others too.
From the skies to our waters, it's going to be a busy Thanksgiving travel week. What you should know to beat the rush with the holiday just days away. Hello, I'm David Rose.
And I'm Hannah Kim. Those stories and more from Seattle and around the world. But first, today's top stories and breaking news with Fox 13's Sabira Rayford.
We begin tonight with crews working around the clock to repair a leak in the Olympic pipeline that has stopped jet fuel delivery to SeaTac Airport. It's located on a private blueberry farm in Snohomish County, and as of tonight, there is no timeline for the fix. And Governor Bob Ferguson is calling it an emergency. His office says if things are not fixed by tomorrow, the airport could be significantly impacted. Fox 13 Shira Matsuzawa is near there after speaking with a pipeline safety expert about this. Shira?
You know, Sabira, we are just east of Everett where crews are working. You can see the lights there behind me. But BP, which operates the pipeline, tells me that they have crews doing 24-hour excavation operations, and they're working closely with federal, state, local, and tribal authorities. More than a week after a fuel leak was first reported along the Olympic pipeline in an agricultural field several miles east of Everett, the clock is ticking and pressure is growing. Fox 13 got a bird's eye view of the area Friday. Although the pipe wasn't visible, you can see excavators and crews actively working to try and fix it.
We have come a long way since the 90s, and I think, you know, when you look at the recent failures of the Olympic pipeline, they could have been a lot worse, and they weren't.
Bill Karam is the executive director of the Pipeline Safety Trust. It's a watchdog organization that formed after the Olympic pipeline explosion in June of 1999. That explosion killed 3 boys. Bill says when he heard about this recent leak, he was instantly reminded of what happened 26 years ago.
After the 99 spill, a lot of work went into this pipeline to make sure that something like that would never happen again.
He says there have been significant improvements in safety since then, but more still needs to be done.
We still have a significant pipeline failure somewhere in America almost every day, despite all of that. We still are losing 10 to 12 lives each year somewhere across the country due to pipeline failures.
The Department of Ecology shared these photos. One showed a boom placed in the ditch to soak up the fuel. The 400-mile pipeline transports gasoline, diesel, and jet fuel to places like SeaTac Airport. As of Friday, the airport says there were no impacts to flights. Fox 13 reached out to Delta Airlines. In a statement, the company says it is closely monitoring the fuel supply, and there are no operational impacts at this time. Alaska Airlines said in part it is working to mitigate a potential impact from the Olympic pipeline fuel leak, and it is also not experiencing any impacts. At Pipeline Safety Trust, its concern is elsewhere.
We're much more concerned about, if this were to contaminate water sources.
Right now, the Department of Ecology says there is currently no concern about the leak reaching the Snohomish River. Between 2005 and 2023, Bill says there was only one significant problem on this pipeline. But since then, there have been 4.
No, and that to me is just a hint that maybe some, mismanagement or under maintenance is starting to catch up with this pipeline. And I hope that's not true, but it does give me pause that we've seen this uptick in significant incidents over the last few years.
The cause of the spill is still under investigation. And because this is still an active spill, they're still working to figure out exactly how big it is, that leak. But they also told me there's no ETA as to when it'll all be cleaned up or when that pipeline will reopen. I'm Shira Matzow, Fox 13 News. I'll send it back to you.
Sure, thank you. Tonight we're hearing more reaction from lawmakers, including Senator Maria Cantwell. Her office says she wrote a letter to BP demanding answers about the spill. She released a statement saying in part, quote, the fact that a blueberry farmer, not BP, first identified the spill and that it is still not known for certain which of the two pipelines is leaking raises significant concerns about the capabilities of the Olympic Pipeline's leak detection systems and the adequacy of your inspection and maintenance programs, end quote. Fox 13 reached out to BP for comment on the spill. We got a very detailed response saying one of the pipelines in the area passed a successful leak test and fuel deliveries to SeaTac are back as normal. The other pipeline has been shut down to investigate the leak. It went on to say responders have oil recovery equipment to contain the spill put in place and is asking everyone to stay away from the area while they work on those repairs. Seattle City Council members have officially signed off on the 2026 budget, and it will now be up to Mayor-elect Katie Wilson to see the vision set forward by current Mayor Bruce Harrell.
9 in favor, none opposed.
The $8.9 billion budget outlines dozens of issues. Here's a few. A record $349 million has been allocated for affordable housing and $65 million for social housing. When it comes to homelessness, the city will set aside $9 million to protect shelter beds at risk of federal funding cuts. The city is also increasing spending on public safety. The 2026 budget will now head to Mayor Harrell for signature and will become the blueprint for the new Wilson administration. A 26-year-old woman is dead after she allegedly swerved into oncoming traffic, hitting another car this morning. That crash happened just after 5:30 a.m. on South 320th Street in Federal Way near the I-5 interchange. The Federal Way police say she crossed into oncoming traffic and hit another car. The other driver was hurt and was rushed to Harborview. Police say there was evidence the woman was drinking while driving, and witnesses reported she was driving recklessly. An autopsy will ultimately determine if she was under the influence. Meanwhile, in Everett, this rollover collision on 19th Avenue Southeast and 112th Street caused problems for drivers. At one point, the road was closed entirely. It's not clear what caused the crash or if anyone was hurt. We've reached out to learn more, and we're waiting to hear back. Let's turn now to meteorologist Claire Anderson.
All right, taking a look outside. It's cloudy out there, but mostly dry for western Washington. So not too bad of a Friday in November. Looking out, so this is over Lake Washington down towards Mount Rainier. Of course, the mountain is not out today, but we are seeing some calmer conditions. We do have cloudy conditions out towards the coast as well, but we have been seeing mostly cloudy skies across the area today as a stalled front hangs up around the BC area, bringing a few sprinkles or two out towards the coast as well as up towards Bellingham, but mostly dry and cloudy across the rest of the state today. Rainfall total wise, only a sprinkle or two out towards Forks, and that's really all we're expecting for the rest of this evening. Visibility wise, we do have some low clouds out towards the coast as well as Shelton, visibility around 4 miles, so do watch for that, but nothing else too major for tonight. Temperatures have actually been pretty mild, mid to low 50s for SeaTac, Seattle 52 for Tacoma, upper 40s Port Angeles as well as Forks, low 50s Bellingham and Everett, 39 high today for Wenatchee. Futurecast tonight, so mostly cloudy skies, a few sprinkles passing through the north area up towards the border as well as out towards the beaches. Through this evening into tomorrow, similar story. That stalled front just still hangs up north. As we move through the day on Saturday, showers could make its way further south. Majority of the moisture still staying north of Everett. As we move further into the evening, though, we start to see those shower chances return, sink further down with that front, and fill in overnight into Sunday morning. So a wet Sunday morning, but some better news, drier looks like into the afternoon. Overnight temperatures mid-40s, so mild temperatures again. Highs tomorrow in the mid-50s. We will see those showers returning for a wet start Sunday. Gusty winds across the area for Sunday. Few showers Monday. Cooler and a little drier for Tuesday with rain and mountain snow to end the week.
The man accused of shooting and killing 2 teenage brothers in Lacey is now facing charges. According to court documents, 27 rounds were fired at them. Those documents reveal it was all a case of mistaken identity. This is video of Traquan Wilson Mason in court earlier this week. Prosecutors charged him with 2 counts of aggravated murder in the first degree, 2 counts of drive-by shooting, and 1 count of unlawful possession of a firearm. He was also charged in another case for tampering with evidence and violating a domestic violence protection order. Earlier this week, a judge ordered he be held on a no bail order. According to documents, 16-year-old Alexander Borgen and his 17-year-old brother Devin Borgen were walking just before 2 a.m. on November 14th. Wilson Mason was allegedly sitting in the passenger seat of a car and mistakenly identified Alexander as the person who shot up his home last year. Wilson Mason told investigators he took a gun from the driver, who's also facing charges in this case, leaned out the window and fired 27 rounds at them. The brothers died in the street, and documents revealing that Wilson Mason learned the brothers were not involved in the shooting at his home, and he became very emotional and confessed to another person. Court documents also state Wilson Mason was previously being investigated for threatening the mother of his child with a gun. A second suspect, the driver in this case, was also arrested after a 117-mile-an-hour chase in Pierce County. He was in court earlier this week. Prosecutors expect to formally charge him by Monday. The boys, pictured here in a fundraiser, will be remembered at a vigil tonight in Lacey. Fox 13 is planning to attend and will bring you that part of the story tonight at 10. There's more news ahead with Fox 13's David Rose and Hannah Kim.
You're watching Seattle News Tonight on Fox 13 and streaming on Fox Local.
As the federal government considers new requirements for SNAP benefits, one food bank in Tacoma is in overdrive. After almost exhausting their supply, they are busy packaging food for the Thanksgiving holiday.
As Fox 13's Lauren Donovan shows us, instead of expecting people to wait in long lines for help, they're taking their services on the road and meeting people right where they are.
First step is to actually make the box, the stickers on there so they know it's coming from Eloise. What they're doing today is our Thanksgiving holiday boxes. In the box we have oil, which is always something great to have.
Sifting through items bound for folks in need, Andrea Blue tells me clients of Eloise's Cooking Pot
get a whole turkey and a sack of russet potatoes to boot. Enough for a family of 4.
Cheesecake, which is exciting. Most people think of food banks of having the basics. When we can put something in the box to brighten up a child's day when he opens up the box or to do something sweet, it's always exciting.
Sealing one after another, then stacking on pallets. Each of these workers has the goal of completing a couple hundred a day.
Thanksgiving, people, food has gone up. People are still concerned about how they're making their ends meet around food.
Andrea tells me any new SNAP recipient requirements will only increase demand.
With this now new SNAP requirement, I'm just speechless.
Her Making a Difference Foundation will have to step in and fill the gaps.
In this great country, people shouldn't have to worry about where they're going to eat.
But in Tacoma, they most certainly do. And that is why Andrea has invited us on a ride-along, showcasing her expanding at-home delivery service.
When the government was shut down and nobody really knew what was going on, so many families are really grateful just to have a little extra support system, that little safety net to help them make it through it.
In a single day, Marcus Brewer here will travel all over the city, dropping off boxes to at least 50 clients.
We also in partnership with Amazon and DoorDash.
I'm told Amazon can deliver 1,000, DoorDash upwards of 300.
And it's really nice when you get to deliver a box to somebody that just looks at you and is like, I'm really grateful for this. You don't know how much it helps right now.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Appreciate everything.
You're welcome.
For me, for them to be able to just come out and deliver, that is such a help.
I wanted viewers to understand the love, the labor that it takes to get that box to their house.
Reporting in Tacoma, Lauren Donovan, Fox 13 News.
Seattle police arrested a teen accused of attacking an 80-year-old man who confronted the boy for spray painting graffiti. Police say a group of 4 suspects were tagging the side of the Ballard Bridge on Monday. The 80-year-old pulled over to confront them and take cell phone video. Police say a 17-year-old boy then punched the man multiple times, injuring his shoulder and cutting his lip. The suspect was identified after the victim posted his video on the Nextdoor social media app. The teen was arrested Thursday at a high school in Wallingford for assault and investigation of property destruction. The suspect accused of shooting and killing a man moments after he bought a slice of pizza in Capitol Hill is now charged. Investigators say Robert Fleeks Jr. there was shot and killed while sitting inside a gold Chevy Tahoe. He still had a bite of pizza in his mouth when emergency crews found him. He had been shot 3 times in the neck and head and later died at Harborview. A motive at this point is unclear, but more than one witness told police they saw 4 men wearing all black walk up to his car, and that's when shots were fired. This is video from court earlier this week. 27-year-old DeAndre Todd did not appear, which is his right, but he will be required to appear at his arraignment on Tuesday. Prosecutors have charged him with murder in the 2nd degree with a firearm enhancement. A judge ordered he be held on $2 million bail. They say Todd has a lengthy misdemeanor warrant history, including an active warrant in the amount of $5,000 out of Tukwila Municipal Court and 13 other warrants since 2016.
After more than 7 years on the run, accused child molester Patrick O'Connor has finally been caught. He was arrested in Syracuse, New York on Thursday and booked into the Onondaga County Sheriff's Justice Center. O'Connor is being held without bail. Seattle police have been searching for him since 2018. I featured him multiple times on Washington's Most Wanted. King County prosecutors charged him with child molestation 2nd degree, communication with a minor for immoral purposes, and possession of depictions of minors engaged in sexual activity. Detectives say O'Connor showed gay porn to a 13-year-old boy during a trip to Wings and Waves in McMinnville, Oregon, before molesting him. He's also accused of exposing himself in front of a boy during a visit to O'Connor's home in West Seattle and molesting him a 2nd time. O'Connor is being held without bail. A Kirkland mother has been arrested in the death of her 10-year-old daughter. According to Kirkland police, the woman brought her daughter's body to the hospital on July 24th. Investigators spent months trying to figure out how she died. They eventually discovered the child had type 1 diabetes. They believe she fell into a coma and died due to prolonged diabetic ketoacidosis. Detectives determined the mother was aware of her daughter's symptoms and did not get her the help she needed. The mother was eventually arrested on November 4th. She's being held on $1 million bail.
11 people were hurt after a grizzly bear attacked a group of students and teachers in a walking trail in British Columbia. The Canadian Broadcasting Corporation is reporting that 3 kids were rushed to the hospital with 2 in critical condition. A teacher was also hospitalized. The rare attack happened yesterday afternoon in Bella Coola, about 430 miles northwest of Vancouver. Teachers are being hailed as heroes as they try to protect the kids. The aggressive bear is still on the loose.
Tonight, it's shocking surveillance video showing the moment a car slams into a man walking along the side of the road in Renton. We've paused the video before he's hit, but he survived this crash. Watch as the man walks along SR 900 near 164th Avenue on November 16th. Around 9:30 at night, someone driving a silver or gray Honda Accord hit the man and then just kept on going. The car was last seen turning southbound on Southeast May Valley Road. Washington State Patrol says this silver passenger mirror on the side broke off during the crash and was left on the ground. Troopers hope this clue will lead them to the identity of the driver. If you have any information that can help, please contact the Washington State Patrol. And a reminder, you can get streaming news from Fox 13 Seattle with the Fox Local app. It's free to download for any smart TV or mobile phone, whether you watch on a big screen or in the palm of your hand. The Fox Local app brings you streaming news, breaking news, and local updates anytime from Fox 13 Seattle. We'll be right back. The future mayor of New York City, Zohran Mamdani, had his first face-to-face meeting with President Trump at the White House today. As Rebecca Castor reports, the two did find some common ground discussing affordability and public safety.
New York City's mayor-elect Zohran Mamdani was all smiles, stopping for pictures at Ronald Reagan National Airport before his big sit-down with President Trump.
And speak to him about challenges New Yorkers are facing living in the most expensive city in the United States of America.
The meeting comes after months of public sparring between the two, But with a cordial handshake in the Oval Office, they seem to be turning a new leaf.
I feel very confident that he can do a very good job. I think he is going to surprise some conservative people, actually, and some very liberal people.
It was a productive meeting focused on a place of shared admiration and love, which is New York City.
But there was an awkward moment when Mamdani was asked about his recent negative comments about the president, such as calling him a despot.
And what I really appreciate about the president is that the meeting that we had focused not on places of disagreement, which there are many, and also focused on the shared purpose that we have in serving New Yorkers.
I've been called much worse than a despot, so it's not that insulting.
The president seems impressed by some of Mamdani's ideas. While over on Capitol Hill, the House coincidentally scheduled a vote to condemn socialism, which passed with bipartisan support.
Socialism is wonderful. Communism is wonderful in theory. It's miserable in practice, and we know it.
Mamdani had a lot riding on the meeting after President Trump threatened to withhold federal funds from New York City.
A federal judge ordered the White House to pull troops out of the nation's capital. A district judge ruled the president's National Guard takeover in Washington, D.C. was an illegal use of his power. The judge said the president has the authority to protect federal property, but he cannot use his power to unilaterally deploy troops to combat crime within the district. The order, though, is on hold for 21 days to allow for an appeal. We'll be right back. A young mother is here to tell her survival story after her heart stopped twice. New technology detected a rare heart condition. Now she credits a specific device for helping to save her life. Fox 13's Frankie Thompson takes us to Pierce County with a closer look at that device and how her story could help others.
All right, you ready? Let's go. Carissa Hudson tries her best to live a healthy lifestyle.
But I do love to be outside, so we love to go down to the beach. We love to walk. I have 3 dogs, so walking is a part of keeping them healthy, too.
She says she never really questioned her health, but a walk through the neighborhood with her mother changed that.
I started feeling really weird and had that sensation, and my mom was a little ahead of me, and I said, Mom, I have to stop. I think I don't feel right.
She passed out for more than 4 minutes. Medics rushed her to St. Joseph Medical Center in Tacoma.
You don't think of the worst, right? You think like, well, that's strange, but I did not know at that point the magnitude of what had happened other than how it felt coming out of it.
Healthcare providers checked her vitals and everything was normal except an abnormal heartbeat. Doctors prescribed a Zio heart monitor on her chest to be worn for 2 weeks and sent her home. Carissa says she was fine until 8 days later when she passed out again in her office. This time, she was alone.
That time I had no warning. I just went out.
Rushed back to the emergency room. Doctors collected data from iRhythm, the maker of her heart monitor. The report showed her heart was abnormally beating so fast to a point that it stopped.
Everyone kept saying, we looked at your report. We don't know how you're here. It's pretty miraculous.
Carissa was diagnosed with a rare genetic heart condition. She never knew she carried the gene and likely never would have known her heart was unhealthy.
If I hadn't been wearing the heart monitor, that I probably would have had another episode because my heart was getting weaker and weaker with each one. And that I probably wouldn't be here.
Virginia Mason Franciscan Health says this kind of advancement in technology is how its team is saving more lives like Carissa's.
Programs like this cardiac patch monitor system are like a great example of how we continue to innovate and embrace that technology. It improves the quality of care for these patients and really for our community.
Now living with a pacemaker, Carissa is finding new ways to live a healthier lifestyle. And her diagnosis is also saving the lives of her family after genetic testing revealed 6 people, including her daughter, also carry the rare gene.
To me, the kind of hidden gem in all of it is that A, I survived. That's pretty special. And B, my family is able to get some answers that they maybe otherwise wouldn't have had and hopefully and potentially avoid having a situation like I had.
Frankie Thompson, Fox 13 News.
A new study is emphasizing the importance of early screening for lung cancer. It found that 3 times more lung cancer deaths could be prevented if everyone eligible got an ACT scan. The study published in the Journal of the American Medical Association analyzed data from the 2024 National Health Interview Survey. Results showed only 1 in 5 eligible adults were screened for lung cancer, but if everyone was screened, nearly 30